Hello. All right. As I settle all the paper. All right. Hello, everyone. Great to see you all. Happy July. We will have Scott Schmidt read the land acknowledgement for the city of West Hollywood. Come on down, Scott.
The West Hollywood City Council acknowledges that the land on which we gather, and it is currently known as the City of West Hollywood, is the occupied, unceded, seized territory of the Gabrielino Tongva and Gabrielino Quiche peoples.
Thank you, Scott. I am calling this meeting to order. It is 6:14. Now, will Emerson Liu, a student at West Hollywood Elementary School, come up and do the pledge for us? Right there. Whenever you're ready.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Great job, Emerson. City Clerk, may we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Councilmember Heilman.
Here.
Councilmember Meister.
Here.
Councilmember Shine.
Present.
Vice Mayor Byers.
Here.
Mayor Erickson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. City Attorney Langer, may you please provide your report out of the closed session?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The City Council convened a closed session this evening at 5:30 p.m. There were no members of the public to speak on the posted agenda. The City Council spoke about the two items listed on the posted agenda. One was a conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation and took no reportable action. The second was conference with legal counsel concerning initiation of litigation, and the body did give direction to initiate litigation, and the particulars of that litigation will, upon inquiry, be disclosed after the litigation has formally commenced. That concludes my report.
Thank you. City Clerk, are there changes from staff on the agenda?
No, Mayor, there are no changes from staff this evening.
Wonderful. Do my colleagues have any changes for council? Councilmember Heilman.
I'm wondering if we could move 6C, 6D, 6E, 6F, and 6G to consent.
I'm fine with all those. That would be the 6G is equal means equal, 6F is show her the money, 6E is the Drag Queens of Comedy, 6D is the LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce event, and 6C is the, you said 6C, right?
C,
the Fairfax Centennial. Seeing no objection. How do my colleagues feel about item 6B, the resources for immigrants out of the Soviet Union? Russia?
I'm okay with that, yeah.
Okay. Is there any appetite to move 6A, the sales tax measure survey?
I'd like to keep that on.
Sounds good. Wonderful. Are there any other changes from my colleagues? Seeing none, can I get a motion? Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, there we go.
That
Thank you. 5-0.
Thank you. That passes 5-0. Do my colleagues have any Levine Act disclosures?
No.
No? No?
No.
I don't either. Do my colleagues have any I know we do have some adjournment motion requests today. Councilmember Meister, may I start with you?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to adjourn tonight's meeting in memory of Nina Parkinson. Nina was a longtime resident of the city of West Hollywood. I knew her from the West Hollywood West area. She was very involved with the Residents Association. So when I first got involved, she and her husband, Gene, who actually predeceased her, were always at every meeting. She loved to play tennis. She was an avid walker. Frankly, just very, very kind of shocked about hearing this news. And so, anyway, thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Shine?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I have 3 adjournments. The first is Ms. Shannon Doherty, who passed away on July 13th at the age of 53 after a courageous battle with cancer. She was born in Memphis. Shannon began her acting career as a child and went on to captivate audiences with her performances on pop television series such as Beverly Hills 90210 and Charmed. Her ability to bring characters to life with depth and authenticity has left a lasting impact on the entertainment industry and on all who had the privilege of watching her work. Beyond her professional achievements, Shannon has been an inspiring advocate for health awareness, bravely sharing her personal battle with cancer to help others facing similar challenges. Her courage, openness, and determination have provided strength and hope to many, demonstrating the power of facing adversity with grace and tenacity. Her unwavering spirit will continue to inspire us all. Additionally, Richard Simmons, who has been a beloved figure and a beacon of positivity in our community and across the nation, known for his infectious energy, kindness, and unwavering dedication to promoting health and fitness. He passed away on July 13th at the age of 76. Richard first rose to fame in the 1980s with his enthusiastic approach to exercise, bringing joy and motivation to millions through his workout programs, videos, and television appearances. His legacy of encouragement and wellness will continue to inspire all of us. And Dr. Ruth Westheimer. Dr. Ruth, a trailblazer in the field of sex therapy and a beloved public figure known for her candid and compassionate approach to discussing human sexuality, she passed away on July 12th at the age of 96. Dr. Ruth's groundbreaking work began in the early 1980s when she courageously opened up public discourse on topics that were often considered taboo. Through her radio and television programs, books, and public appearances, she educated and empowered countless individuals to embrace healthy and fulfilling sexual lives. Her unique combination of expertise, warmth, and humor made her a trusted and endearing presence in many households. Born Carola Ruth Siegel in Germany, Dr. Ruth's life story is one of resilience and triumph. Having survived the Holocaust as a child, she went on to become a sharpshooter in the Israeli armed forces before eventually earning her doctorate in education from Columbia University. Her remarkable journey and achievements serve as a testament to her strength, determination, and dedication to helping others. Her legacy of education, feminism, empathy, and empowerment will continue to inspire and live on.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Shine. Councilmember Hammond, do you have any? Vice Mayor Byers? And I would like the council to adjourn in memory of Shelley Duvall, who passed away this past weekend. All right. We're going to move right on to we're going to move right on to presentations. That's what we're going to do. And I would love to invite up Emerson Liu to get a presentation from the city. Come on down. All right. And then next, we have two individuals I had the great opportunity to meet with Vice Mayor Byers, and that is two members of our World War II veteran community. And I'm excited that they, who live right here in West Hollywood and embody the courage, sacrifice, and resilience. Yakoslav Yodorowski and Yakov Labarsky, they both served the country during World War II. Their journey, Yakov's World War II began at the age of 11 when he bravely ventured to the front lines after losing his parents. Adopted by soldiers, he became known as the son of the regiment, contributing immensely by carrying supplies and performing vital tasks. Amidst the chaos of war, he also cultivated his musical talents and acrobatic skills. His path led him all the way to Berlin, where he witnessed history unfold alongside Allied forces, including the pivotal Potsdam Conference. Post-war, he transformed his wartime experiences into a distinguished career as an acrobat and artist. Next off, Mr. Lebarsky's journey started in Moscow and finished in Berlin, exemplifying bravery and dedication. As an artilleryman in the 2nd Cavalry Regiment, he displayed unwavering courage, enduring wounds that he carries to this day. His valor earned him the prestigious honors, including the Order of Glory and medals for the liberation of Warsaw, the conquest of Berlin, and victory over Germany. After immigrating to Los Angeles, Yakov continued to serve as a passionate advocate within the World War II community. His commitment to preserving their stories and supporting his comrades exemplifies the spirit of service that defines our community. And this evening, the City of West Hollywood extends its deepest gratitude to these two amazing veterans. Your sacrifices, bravery, and enduring legacy serve as a beacon of inspiration for us all. We pledge to honor your memories and memories of all who served, ensuring that future generations understand the price of freedom and the valor of those who secured it. I would love to welcome you both up now to accept these two proclamations for your service. So great. Wonderful. Thank you so much. We're going to now move on to public comment. The City Council values your comments. However, pursuant to the Brown Act, the Council cannot take actions on items not listed on the posted agenda. The public comment period is limited to 20 minutes and with 2 minutes allotted for each speaker. This public comment period is to address the City Council on consent calendar items, other agenda items, and if the member of the public cannot be present at the time the item is considered, or items of general public interest within the jurisdiction of the City Council. Another period is also reserved for the general comment later in the meeting for those who cannot be heard at this time. Public hearing testimony will only be taken at the time of the hearing. If you go over your 2 minutes and do not respond to the city clerk's notification that your time has expired, your microphone will be muted. If you signed up to speak on both consent calendar items and general public comment, as well as an item that was moved to the consent calendar, you may take this public comment period to speak on the consent calendar items. You might also sign up to speak during the second public comment period for your general public comment. Lastly, speakers should not bring any items to the podium other than a prepared written statement and or writing materials. Madam City Clerk, how many speakers do we have tonight?
Thank you, Mayor. We have 13 individuals in chambers and 2 individuals in Zoom.
Great, let's go to the Zoom first.
Okay.
They are general public comment. Is that fine before consent calendar and chambers?
Melissa, what's your recommendation?
We should take our consent calendar
Great,
items
then we'll
first.
go to in person.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. And our first speaker will be Bob Claster.
Wonderful.
How do I get my speech put in the teleprompter? I'm here to speak about this plan to pull up our lovely, organic, fragrant, safe wood chip surface at Hart Dog Park and replace it with toxic artificial grass. You claim that your decision was made after exhaustive community outreach. I'm here to tell you that among the vibrant and large community of current Hart Park users, there is unanimous, vigorous opposition to this plan. Also, unless whatever community you did reach out to was adequately informed that artificial grass represents a significant cancer risk, developmental delays, and other health issues, will pollute the water supply, suffocate the underlying ground, doing damage to our lovely trees, raise the ground temperature significantly, and sometimes get so hot as to damage our dogs' paws, among other problems. If they were not sufficiently informed about all of that, then your outreach would have to be considered moot and irrelevant. The cities of Millbrae and San Marino have already banned artificial grass, and Los Angeles is well on the way to a ban of their own, which may very well apply to Hart Park. We don't yet know. These are times in which conscientious people are doing all they can to achieve less plastic in our environment, not more. Our wood chips have been there for decades without causing any problems and have never given anyone cancer. Just a reminder, none of this would be necessary if council would abandon the plan to infest the neighborhood with this toxic artificial grass, and you would then have the golden opportunity to proudly say that you responded to the needs and wishes of the community, which would probably be a useful claim to be able to make when re-election time rolls around. It's not too late. I hope you'll do that. We all do.
Thank you, Bob. Next up is Karen Ayers, to be followed by Brad Keister.
Good evening, Council. I want to thank you for passing on consent the Equal Means Equal event. I think it's going to be a great event for the city and great visibility. And it is part of a nationwide campaign, and it's going to bring it right here to West Hollywood, which is going to be fantastic. There's a second nationwide campaign about the Equal Rights Amendment called signforera.org, and that campaign is being spearheaded by former Congressperson Carolyn Maloney out of New York. And so the Equal Means Equal campaign is focusing on getting President Biden to just do an official resolution to pass the ERA. It's been ratified. He would just put it out there. The one Carolyn Maloney is behind, that's to get Congress to get the ERA published. So both are great campaigns and complement one another. You can participate not only in the event coming up in the city of West Hollywood, but you can go to www.sign4, that's number 4, ERA.org, that's signforera.org, and sign the petition. And let's get the ERA finally in our Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karen. Next up, we have Brad Keisler, to be followed by George Nickel.
For this time, although I did bike here, I wanted to speak about the, and I know it's still being talked about, the sky sanctuaries that's going to propose for San Vicente Boulevard. I'm not convinced about it being a workable solution. I don't like looking up at cement, you know, and I just, you can't walk through it. It's the garden on top. One time there was discussion about a canopy or something across San Vicente Boulevard. And I know you need a place for, you're going to have this speaker's podium out on the sidewalk or something near, not sidewalk, but near the AIDS monument, so you want people to be able to be in shade. So that's all good. The other thing, it just seems like it would be a boondoggle to me if you know, once you try to think about earthquakes and stuff with these things up there. The other thing I wanted to make my opinion about was the Laurel House. I was reading about that in the agenda, and this lady that donated the house, that was really great, but she seemed to have modern forums there. And I'm all for art and things, but is there going to be anything about having maybe forums there with people? Like she had Einstein there and Buckminster Fuller and all these people. I just wondered if she had intended also that to be in part of the plan. Okay, thanks.
Thank you so much, Brad. George Nickel to be followed by Marquita Thomas.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council. George Nickel, 19-year resident of the City of West Hollywood. I was at the last Russian Speaking Advisory Board meeting where this actually came up, the need to support new immigrants from the former Soviet Union who are members of our LGBTQ family. So I was really pleased to see that this was on the agenda tonight and that you moved it to consent. And I'll just say that I have a really good friend who lives in Kyiv with his family in a war zone, and he sent me a message on the 4th of July. And I won't read it because I'll blubber like an idiot if I do, but I'll just say that people still, despite everything, people still look to our country and our city as a safe place to live and a place of freedom. So of that I'm very proud, and I'm glad that this has been moved to consent tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, George. Marquita Thomas to be followed by Craig A.
Good evening, Mayor Erickson and esteemed members of council. My name is Marquita Thomas. I'm the president and CEO of the California LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce, and I want to thank the council for moving the LGBTQ Certification Summit to consent. This event will be taking place on August 28th from 10 to 2 at Fiesta Hall. This is a very important event because there are currently billions of dollars of opportunity for LGBTQ owned and operated businesses, but currently there are less than 300 certified LGBT certified businesses in California, so it's critical that we get more businesses certified to connect them to these opportunities. And this event's agenda will include presentations on how to navigate the certification platforms, resource tables for those seeking access to capital and business resources, and we will have matchmaking sessions for those suppliers who are already certified to connect with supplier diversity representatives. Some of the representatives that we have already invited or plan to invite include Sony Pictures, Southern California Edison, SoCal Gas, AEG. The California Public Utilities Commission has already confirmed their attendance there. We'll have Comcast and a lot of other really great organizations. Your support is invaluable in promoting economic opportunities for LGBTQ businesses in our community, and we hope we can make this an annual event. That would be really great. And we expect to have the URL, lgbtqcertificationsummit.com, live by next week. So thank you again, and have a great rest of your meeting.
Thank you so much, Marquita. Craig A. And then I have Karen Ayers again on my list, but I think that's a typo. Great. And then Craig A. Is there a Craig here? Last initial A. All right. Kamala Lopez to be followed by Mikey Friedman then.
Hello, and thank you so much to the City of West Hollywood for moving Equal Means Equals project Final Impact for the ERA to consent. We are so grateful. We are so excited. We gathered over 500 beautiful portraits during Pride this year that we are going to print out in big size and put up in West Hollywood for everyone to see the support that the city has for equality for all people, regardless of sex or gender. As Karen mentioned, This Final Impact campaign is a national campaign, but we will begin here in West Hollywood. We will be going to the DNC in Chicago, to Washington, D.C. We'll be going to about 15 cities in Michigan. Michael Moore is doing an installation with us in Traverse City. So we're very proud and honored and grateful to the city for supporting us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We love you.
Thank you so much. Mikey Friedman to be followed by Rachel S.
Mikey Friedman, West Hollywood. In May, the Older Adults Advisory Board gave me their service award, an honor that I'll remember for the rest of my life, far longer than I'll remember the comments from someone on this council when I came to beg for pedestrian safety. Now I hear that I might be nominated for the Disabilities Advisory Board Service Award. I asked not to be nominated, but I've been told that I have no choice in the matter. They asked me to write a bio, so I've decided to practice on you. 30 years ago, on July 27, 1994, I lost my dominant arm and shoulder to a killer sarcoma that didn't respond to chemo or radiation. I went from being able-bodied to being a person living with a disability. Later, I lost half of my right lung to the same sarcoma. I had to figure out how to live and how to earn a living. So at 50, I went back to school, got my teaching credential, and went from being a bartender to being a teacher. I was on the Disabilities Advisory Board for 6 years when I saw very clearly that scooters were a huge problem to people living with disabilities. Riders use them, and they and Lyme leave them on the sidewalk, making it impossible for us to walk safely. The city allowing them to continue violates ADA equal access laws. The city also introduced and approved the use of delivery robots, another obstacle on our sidewalks. I tried working within the board to advise our city of this problem, but the board was met with indifference and defensiveness. So I quit, and I've been working on my own ever since. Awards are nice, but I'd rather take a walk without worrying about whether I will be assaulted, trip over an abandoned scooter, a delivery robot will run into me, or I will be mowed down by an inconsiderate scooter rider, because being disabled is no laughing matter.
Thank you, Mikey. Rachel S. to be followed by Scott Schmidt. And then we still have people on Zoom, right? Thank you.
Good evening, City Council, staff, and residents of West Hollywood. My name is Rachel Schmeidler. I'm a single mother to 2 boys. I've been a resident of West Hollywood for 24 years, and I've spent the last 10 years working for LA County. And like over 70% of West Hollywood, I'm a renter. I love West Hollywood, and I'm deeply connected to our community. What happens within 1.9 square miles impacts all of our lives and has ripple effects across the globe. In fact, the world will be coming to us over the next 4 years. No one is more excited about the World Cup and the Olympics than my boys. But the question is, are we ready? I'm sure we've all read about the crime, the human trafficking, and other illegal activities that follow these events, and I'm concerned that we're not ready. Our city council must be a voice in this issue. As a technology expert serving in data governance and compliance for LA County, I've dedicated my career to ensuring transparency, efficiency, and accountability in government operations. So tonight, as a county professional, as a mother of 2 boys in LAUSD schools, and as a 24-year resident of West Hollywood, I'm announcing my candidacy for West Hollywood City Council. My priorities include creating safer communities, building a sustainable local economy, and strengthening community services. The future requires that we speak up for ourselves as a community, My goal is to be that voice for my family and for all the residents of West Hollywood. Thank you, and you can learn more at rachel4weho.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Scott Schmidt to be followed by Steve Martin.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Scott Schmidt, resident of West Hollywood. First off, I want to thank you again for your support at the last meeting. We'll be meeting with Laura Bieri tomorrow to talk about the contract with Emerald Village. So, your comments made things happen. I also wanted to invite everyone in West Hollywood who's listening, everyone in the chamber, to join us on Saturday afternoon, starting at noon at the Woods, right across from Hamburger Mary's. We're going to be having a great event honoring Whoopi Goldberg for her contributions to the LGBT community and the cannabis movement. Vice Mayor Byers is going to be giving her the key to the city. It's going to be amazing. It's free, but for crowd control purposes, you need to get a ticket. So if you go on our Instagram at Emerald Village WeHo, go to the stories. There's a link in the stories to the tickets. So please join us. We look forward to hearing you. We look forward to seeing you there and hearing from Whoopi and celebrating everything that she's done for our communities that are so important to West Hollywood. And finally, I wanted to thank you guys for moving 6D to consent, and that's the California LGBT Chamber certification event. Marquita whispered in my ear that in addition to all those corporations that will be there, there will also be the LA 28 team. So if you are an LGBT business that wants to get involved in the Olympic movement here in Los Angeles, this is an opportunity to get those doors in. So once again, thank you for everything. Hope y'all can join us on Saturday, and look forward to a great event. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Scott. Steve Martin to be followed by Max Oswald.
Good evening, City Council members. Last time I was here, I was talking about the city statement of values, which I saw posted in one of the hearing rooms at City Hall. Originally, that was a 3-sentence declaration, which actually made a lot of sense and provided some easy to digest guidance. I did try to find that on the city's website, and all I could find instead was this page-long mission statement, which I frankly has a lot of good gems in it that I think people should be aware of. These are our goals. As a city, we hold ourselves accountable to the members of our community. We are committed to actively seeking public participation. We promote a public process by which we can respond to the community's needs while balancing competing interests and diverse opinions. We maintain a balanced sense of community by protecting the quality of life, conserving our historic neighborhoods, safeguarding affordable housing, and proactively governing the growth of the city with care and thought. So these are some good things. Then it kind of goes off the rails a little bit under public safety. It says we protect the personal safety of our constituents and safeguard the community from threats of natural, technological, and man-made hazards. Through thorough preparation and planning, we minimize the effects of these disasters. Unfortunately, nowhere under the commitment for public safety does the city say that we support law enforcement. Nowhere does it say we protect the community from crime, unless, of course, crime is somehow falling under man-made disasters, which seems to be a bit of a stretch. Perhaps we should come back and review these, but there's a lot of good stuff in here that we should always read. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Max Oswald is our last speaker in Chambers.
Good evening, Council. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Good to see you again. Max from Tenacity. I just wanted to come give you guys a little bit of an update since I've seen you last. It was a little heated meeting last time. I think it's a little cooler tonight. So since we've seen you last, we've had over 15,000 players play on the courts with 0 complaints. Everybody seems pretty satisfied and happy. This Thursday, we have Louise Fleming from the Tennis Channel and ESPN coming to host a Rally Together event with us to help build social connections and mental well-being for LGBTQ individuals with mental challenges. That's 3 p.m. at Plummer Park. We have put the senior citizen discount in place, so despite the contract being renewed for the 6 months and being on our previous terms, on day one, we were in place and ready to that, so we held to that, and we've continued to do that. We're working with the city to get the new nets, so we're still trying to get a better discount. We were going to buy those ourselves, but with the new contract, the short extension, we haven't been able to do that yet. So the city is helping us to get through and work with that. Courts have been fully booked for the last 6 weeks again. We finished a successful preschool season with the preschool graduation in Plummer Park. We do a free program. I don't know if you guys are aware of that with a few of the preschools in town, and that went well. We had a great graduation with them. We've had discussions with the rec staff about the community feedback. We already have our 3 community feedback forums in place. Our feedback mechanisms in place. We're putting a new newsletter out to publish more about that, as well as we have our committee meeting coming together for our committee of players. So those are all moving forward. We had, I think, 5 or 6 positive feedback at the PFC meeting this past week, which when I went back and recounted all of the complaints over the last 2 years, which puts us 2 shy of how many complaints actually went through the PFC, because when you look at the minutes, there weren't 20 complaints, there were 8. We're all moving in a good direction, and we hope
Thank you so much, Matt.
give you another one next month. Thanks.
We're going to transfer over to Zoom, where we have 2.
That is correct, Mayor. Our first speaker is Adam Darvish, to be followed by Yola Duray. Adam, you will have 2 minutes. Please press *6 to unmute.
Evening, Mayor Erickson, Vice Mayor Byers, and council and staff. I would like to point out the importance of public safety to me as a long-term 31-year resident in the city, and ask you to highlight this topic at each council meeting. I was happy to see public safety on tonight's agenda regarding equipment and technology needs. I know that smart city was on the agenda a few years back with timelines that was not met. Not sure what happened to that whole project. The lack of cameras in public areas have been a concern for many years in the city. I've had notes myself from detectives asking me for video clips from my Ring camera due to lack of cameras. And on my street, there's a hotel adjacent to me, and there has been 2 major crimes in the last 12 months that made the news. Criminals are attracted to tourists that come to the hotel. So again, thank you for highlighting this on the agenda. Also wanted to thank the council for having the Women's Equality Day on the agenda. Given my history and a country where my sisters and mother lived for 40 years now under a religious government that violates their rights, basic rights every day. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Adam.
Our next speaker and final speaker for this public comment period is Yola Duray. Yola, you'll have 2 minutes. Please press *6.
Good evening, council, staff, and honored guests. Yola Duray, WeHo resident and current chair of our Disabilities Advisory Board. Advocacy and dedicated service can make a huge difference in our community. Those individuals, businesses, nonprofits, and media that are outstanding advocates and that promote accessibility deserve to be honored. Each year, we have an event here that does just that, the Disabilities Service Awards, held every October. Tonight, you, the audience, staff, and residents of this city have an opportunity to participate by making nominations. The forms are online in regular and large print formats, well as there are hard copies on the back table as you enter council chambers. Deadline for nomination is Friday, August the 2nd. As chair, I urge you to participate in honoring these phenomenal individuals, businesses, etc., that credit our city for being fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Yola. That concludes public comment. City Manager, will you please provide your update?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. I just have a few announcements this evening. The nomination period for West Hollywood City Council candidates begin today. Residents who are interested in running for the West Hollywood City Council should contact the city clerk's office to schedule an appointment. Information is available on the city's website at www.weho.org/elections. The city is hosting a community meeting to talk about the WeHo 40 strategic plan on Saturday, July 20th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the West Hollywood Aquatics and Recreation Center. We encourage you to stop by to learn more about the strategic plan, provide feedback on the city's draft focus areas and goals, and connect with fellow community members. And that is a great opportunity to provide input regarding the city's priorities and values that Steve Martin mentioned earlier. For more information, please visit engage.weho.org. And finally, the annual celebration of National Night Out is happening soon. Mark your calendars to visit any of the 9 community block parties occurring on Tuesday, August 6th from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. throughout the city. This is a great opportunity to meet your neighbors and engage in the city's with the city's public safety partners. For more information, please visit www.weho.org/NNO. Thank you, Mayor. That concludes my comments.
Thank you so much, City Manager Wilson. All right, City Clerk, may I get the fiscal impact of the consent calendar?
Yes, you may. The fiscal impact on tonight's consent calendar with the addition of items 6B, 6C, 6D, 6E, 6F, and 6G is $190,136 in expenditures, $0 in revenue, and $12,041 in waived fees. I also need to read the title of item 2F. It's an ordinance number 2419 into the record. It's an ordinance of the City of West Hollywood, amending West Hollywood Municipal Code Section 2.08.070B to increase compensation for city council members. And with that, we will take a motion on tonight's consent calendar.
You've got it. We'll go to the vote. Thank you. All right, that passes 5-0. Thank you so much. We're going to now move in. I will, okay. We're now going to move into our public hearing portion. We are going to start with item 3A, collection of sewer charges on the tax roll for fiscal year 2024-2025. Some exciting stuff. The public hearing is now open. Madam City Clerk, how was this noticed?
As required by law on June 24th and July 4th.
Wonderful. Do we need a staff presentation fully on this? Maybe just a smaller one? Sounds good. Staff, please introduce yourself, and we'll get to the report, and then we'll come back.
Good evening. I'm John Gilmore, the city engineer, and on the item here is the city owns, operates, and maintains a sewer system to serve the public, which costs money. It is paid for by collecting a fee from every property on their annual property tax bill. Every year, the fee is adjusted for inflation to keep up with the rising costs. This is the public hearing wherein council will approve the increase in rates and the placement on the property tax bill accordingly.
Sounds good. Do my colleagues have any questions? Nope.
Are there any public speakers?
There are none.
Then I'll move that we close the public hearing and approve.
Hold on, Councilmember Meister is running back. She really wants to be in on the sewer vote. All right, we'll go for it. Sorry. Wait, if you're gonna go, you gotta go. All right, we got a motion and a second. Sorry, little potty humor. I apologize. I'm sure someone will send an email. Let's go to the vote. Great. All right, that passes 5-0. We're going to move right on along to item 3B, collection of solid waste, recycling, and organic waste charges on the tax roll for fiscal year 2024-2025. The public hearing is now open. Madam City Clerk, how is this notified?
As
Noticed.
required by law on June 24th and July 4th.
Wonderful. Staff, if you have a brief
So
statement.
the city has a contract with Athens to provide solid waste and recycling services to the public. Per that contract, Athens rates are charged to the public, increase based on CPI each year. Also per contract, Athens in 2022 had to embark upon a big overhaul to comply with the new state law regarding organics recycling implementation. So per our contract with Athens, the rates also increase each year to cover that overhaul, spread over a couple of years. Lastly, the city direct costs for operating the program also increase based on CPI each year. The cost of the program is also collected based on the type of property. Residential units 1 through 4 pays everything on the property tax bill. Residential 5 and more units pays Athens directly for the Athens rate and then pays the city rate on the property tax bill. Commercial pays Athens directly. So this is the public hearing wherein council will approve the increase in rates and the placement on the property tax bill accordingly.
Thank you. We have one question.
Yeah, do you have, is there a public?
There are no public speakers.
My question is, what happens when the multifamily property owner does not have the green basket or a green container of some sort for residents to throw out their waste?
Yeah, that should be happening. So if there's particular properties that we know of that are having those challenges, go ahead and contact staff and we'll work with Athens to resolve that.
Okay, great. The other thing is that ever since this started, there's been more garbage left on the street, like liquid. So when I don't know what, if something's running through the sanitation trucks or what's happening, but it seems like when this went into effect, I've noticed on my street that anywhere they stop, there's garbage. It's not solid garbage, but there's liquid
Staff
garbage.
will follow up with Athens to see if they noticed anything with the vehicles coming from the vehicles you mentioned.
It's coming from the vehicle.
Okay,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. There are no public comments. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Sounds
with
good.
the direction that's been given.
Thank you. And there's a second. Sounds good. And that passes. 5-0. And now we're going to move on to item 3C. I think when I say yes, it just hears me all the time. Item 3C, placement of delinquent solid waste fees on the property tax bill of property owners. The public hearing is now open. Madam City Clerk, how was this noticed?
As required by law on June 24th and July 4th.
John, do us the honors.
So for that Athens contract with the city, they provide the services of solid waste and recycling. Single-family residential properties, they pay their trash bill, as mentioned in the previous hearing, directly on their property tax bill. Multifamily pays their trash bill directly to Athens, as mentioned in the previous hearing. So the city created a condition in the contract with Athens that prohibits Athens from stopping service to multifamily units when those properties don't pay their trash bill. This is to prevent tenants from suffering consequences due to the owner or property management not paying. So to resolve the situation, the city puts the delinquencies on the annual property tax bill to ensure it gets paid. This is the public hearing wherein council will approve the placement of the delinquency charges onto the property tax bill. As indicated in the memo that was distributed this morning, the final count as of this morning was 13 properties.
Thank you. There are no public commenters. Are there any questions?
I just had one suggestion. There I saw a couple of names that I've seen previously, and it appears that there are some owners who just have difficulties. And one building I actually looked at, and it's also very run down, and I'm worried that maybe the property owners are not able to effectively manage their affairs. I don't know if there's somebody who could reach out separately from this process just to determine whether they're doing okay and can manage their building, because it looked like the building was run down and dilapidated as well.
Certainly, definitely, if there's certain properties of distress, we can reach out.
Okay. With that, I'm prepared to move that we close the public hearing and adopt the recommendation.
Lovely. You got in there. All right, 5-0. Thank you so much, John and Helen. We are going to now move on to our last public hearing, item 3D, request to permit the replacement of an on-site rooftop signs with a two-sided off-site traditional billboard sign on the property and install plaza improvements located at 8590 Sunset Boulevard. We have staff coming up. The public hearing is now open. Are there any disclosures from my council members?
No.
No? No, I have none either. Madam City Clerk, how was this item noticed?
As required by law.
Wonderful. Do we need a full staff report on this item? Sure, sounds good. All right, staff, please introduce yourself and present the report.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. It's Brian League with the Property Development Division. I have a PowerPoint, which it's not this one. I got it right here. Okay, tonight we have for your consideration a development agreement and sign permit to remove 3 existing rooftop on-site advertising sign faces and replace with 1 two-sided uplit traditional off-site advertising sign at a retail complex known as the Sunset, located at 8590 Sunset Boulevard. Just for council, for your definition note, we define a traditional sign as a non-digital sign with a vinyl applique or such, which has a 4-week rotation, and that's what this application is for. This slide shows the location of the existing 3 billboards that currently exist on the site, and a tall wall at 8560 and another two-sided billboard at 8600. These 3 billboard signs will be removed under this proposal. Going. Okay.
It's a little feng shui.
I'm getting there.
We're getting the nice energy ready for their portion. Go ahead. Keep going.
This slide shows the location of the existing. Okay, this slide shows. They got me all lost. Okay. This slide shows the location of the proposed new 2 sign faces, and these are known as the sky frames. And again, unlike the recent proposal you've reviewed, these again are traditional billboards that are uplit. Here's some information about these 2 signs. They're both 1,200 square feet, and they're roughly the same height as existing on-site signs. And finally, including some public realm improvements, the project includes 3 elements in the pedestrian plaza, which include the sun frame, a threshold frame, and a seat frame. And these were all developed during the review process with the advisory committee, and they do key into the billboards. In addition to the public improvements, the development agreement includes public benefit payments commensurate with the recently approved development agreements for traditional signs. It includes a payment for the alternative category due to the size and height, and a public realm and pavement. And finally, the environmental for this project, there was a negative declaration with the original sign program, and in April 21, an addendum to that was prepared and found no new environmental impacts. And with that, staff's recommendation is to adopt the proposal, and we're available for questions.
Sounds good. Do my colleagues have any questions from the left? No? Councilmember Meister?
Brian, can you tell me what the language is around the occupancy rate that we usually put in on a billboard?
I know we've had recent discussions on this item. This one's at 50% for the whole project. This was brought up at Planning Commission. And the applicant, we had a discussion with the commissioners. There's some unique, am I getting feedback? The unique aspects of this sign, this project, due to the large floor plates, and they were concerned if they lost a tenant and the lease up for those tenants that they wouldn't be able to maintain that ground floor occupancy. So when it was at Planning Commission kept the occupancy requirement at 50% for the entire project.
Okay, but that's based on, so it's based on the three buildings, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and so what is the square footage of the ground level of the three buildings total?
I don't have that information
Okay,
with
maybe
me.
they'll have it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Meister. All right. The applicant, do you wish to address the council? Sounds good. You will have a maximum of 5 minutes to make your presentation with your lovely boards.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Marina Martos de Bell. I am with Kilroy Realty Corporation. We are so excited to be here. It's been, I looked at my emails today, 5 years since we kicked off this design process and applied in the first round. We've been before the SAS subcommittee twice. We've worked tirelessly with staff. We've heard all of the feedback, all of the comments. We've redesigned this project a few times, completely from the ground up, and we're really pleased with where it landed. We really think that this was a collaborative effort that brought us somewhere we're excited to present to you today. We hope that you feel the same way. We wanted to just quickly acknowledge staff in all of the work that they did with us, specifically Jennifer Davis, Brian League, as well as Rick Abramson, who I don't see in here today, but he's also been a huge part of the team for this. We do have our project architect here if you'd like to hear more about the inspiration of the project, but to answer Councilmember Meister's comment on what the ground floor occupancy for for these three retail buildings are, it's a little over 80,000 square feet, give or take. And that's just for the ground floor, including the upper levels, which are also retail. I think we're at a little over 100,000 square feet. And if you know our site, you know that we have a very large anchor tenant in the retail there. And that is really the nature of our concern. They represent at least half of our retail square footage. So if ever, heaven forbid, they were to leave, that would cause us a lot of stress with filling and only having 12 months to fill that vacancy. And if you're familiar with commercial real estate process, it takes a long time to clear out a space, then be able to market it. It takes a lot longer than 12 months. And so that's really the nature of our reluctance to agree to something like this. But there's nobody who wants to see it occupied more than we do. We do a lot of work to curate the best kind of collection of tenants, and we've tried to attract some really great names to the city of West Hollywood, and we're really happy with where we've gotten so far. So happy to answer questions. I also have Alice if you'd like to hear more about the project.
So thank you. When you say that, I assume you're talking about Equinox.
That's right.
But they're not 50% of the ground level. They may be 50% of your retail, but I'm specifically talking about ground level.
Yeah, they also own a couple of the other fitness uses on site. So the Soul Cycle is theirs, as well as the Precision Run space, or that was going to be Precision Run, which is the building where the billboards would be currently are shown on the plans to be placed. That whole ground floor is also leased to Equinox, and so altogether they represent a large chunk. I didn't do the math on how much of the ground floor they occupy, but it's still very significant.
Okay, because my concern is that there's about, I would say, going by there, almost 90% vacancy on your ground level facing the street.
So I think what you're referring to is maybe what's open for business versus leased or occupied. We're at about 94% leased for the whole retail, but this is the issue with retail. It is very volatile, and for example, that whole building where the billboards are shown here, that is fully leased. It's just their business model for the concept that they had pursued initially before the pandemic fell apart. During the pandemic, another casualty, and what we've seen is just we're having a really hard time, keeping pace with the trends in retail and how those change, and especially post-pandemic, it's been a really big challenge for us. So we hope, that you believe that we're doing our very best to bring in a great mix of tenants and vibrancy to the neighborhood, and we feel comfortable with the 50% for the whole site, but to agree to 50% on the ground floor, it's like really narrowing down what we're, able to control. It's really challenging to control something like retail occupancy when, we're only talking about 85-ish thousand square feet, and that can swing widely in either direction, just based on things that we can't control, like the economy or a pandemic or things like that.
Thank you. All right, let's go to, you just engaged in a wonderful dialogue. However, if you would like to also present, you do have 2 minutes and 24 seconds left. I know that it was kind of a Q&A, but you're happy to use those final 2.5 minutes if you want. Yeah, that's a question for the gods with these technology, but
We just have to switch.
Yeah, they gotta
We use
switch.
different systems depending on what we're doing.
Well, while we're waiting for the images, we are really excited to be here at this stage. So just to add that to what Marina was talking about. Ooh. Thank you so much.
there you go.
I just actually wanted to say a couple of quick things. We did go through many rounds of design, and ultimately I think that what we were starting to look at and thought about very carefully was what really will engage pedestrians on the street. And one of the things that we were very struck by was the idea of the picture frame, which you see all over cities and kind of oversized, and people just really relate to them. And so that was kind of where the inspiration for the project as it currently stands came from. You can see in this image that there is a very strong relationship, which was something we worked very hard on with staff, between the sky frames that sit on the roof and then these frames that sit in the pedestrian realm. So one of the frames, which we call Threshold, you can see at grade, kind of at the entrance to the pedestrian promenade of the Sunset. And you can also see here that one of the things we also worked on was to make sure that the frame itself behind the billboard would be something that would sort of meld into the sky. And so we're looking at ways to actually create a sky on those frames. And so that's what this image talks about. And then this one is simply here to show you that we also looked at sight lines very carefully. The frames do not interfere with existing billboards. And so you can see in this kind of westbound view that the existing billboards that do not belong to us are very much still present, and everybody is coexisting comfortably. So just a couple of quick words. At grade, we have these three really, we think, exciting frames. One I mentioned is the Threshold. Again, you can walk through it, you can take a selfie, you can really make it a threshold into as well as out of the project. And then if you continue down the walkway, then you come to one that is kind of a seat where you can sit, have a conversation, drink a cup of coffee, just rest your feet. And then when you get to the end of where the two walkways converge at the sunset, you find this kind of larger frame. Again, the proportions are the same as the sky frames, but this one is infilled with a very special system called invert, which is, it's an array of, I call them metal butterflies that sort of change and they curl according to the amount of sun hitting them. And so it's a very dynamic system, and in the end, you're looking at a view that's very familiar, but at the same time is now made special by this system. So we are very excited about this project, and we did bring a sort of a blow-up elevation, and we brought some colored metal just to show you some of the things that we're studying to make the backs of the frames. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so now we are going to receive public comment, but I don't believe we have any public comment on this. Wonderful. All right, we are going to, there's no need for the applicant to make any further comments unless you wish to. Great, so I'm going to now close the public testimony portion and we'll move on to council deliberations. Councilmember Heilman?
Yeah, I think there is some discrepancy in the agenda and the resolution that our city attorney and our staff are trying to work out.
Great.
So maybe we should either move on to another item and come back to this, or I don't know what the city attorney suggests.
Why don't we just take a 5-minute
Sure.
recess, because we just have to recalculate the fiscal impact and make sure it's
Sounds
correct
good.
in the
All right,
report.
we're going to take a 5-minute recess and we'll see you shortly.
And please, no one speak to the council members, don't speak to each other, because we're in the middle of a public
do not
hearing.
speak to us. We will not speak to you. So there you go. On this item specifically. So you can say whatever else you would like. Don't talk to us about I'm gonna eat cake. All right. We're gonna go ahead and get started. No worries. We're gonna go ahead and get started. I believe we're gonna just go back. We're gonna close the public portion. Hearing was closed. We're gonna go to deliberations. However, it sounds like City Attorney Langer, would you like to provide a quick update?
I'll just clarify two things for the record. Under the fiscal impact on the staff report, there appears to be an error where there's two different projects mentioned. So I will just say for the record that on page 9 of 12, those first two paragraphs are correct. Then when you flip over to 10 of 12, the long paragraph that starts with the agreement and ends with the agreement before the numbered list, that is an incorrect paragraph. That should not be in the staff report, so it should be stricken. And the fiscal impact of this item is actually in number 1 on page 10 of 12, which says $13,583,086 over 30 years. So the fiscal impact on page 11 of 12 is not correct, and it's this number here in number 1. And then I found one very minor typo in the DA that I just wanted to correct. It's a big difference. In section 4.2 of the development agreement in that property occupancy section, the very last line says minimum annual guaranteed payment, and that should say public benefit payment, not minimum annual guarantee. And with that, I will turn it back over to the council for your deliberation.
Thank you. Would any of my colleagues like to move? I see there's already a motion and a second on the item. Councilmember Meister.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that I have a problem with this 90% vacant, approximately 90% vacant ground level. And I don't know that we should be giving a billboard when we don't get anything in terms of pedestrian activity in an area where we should be getting pedestrian activity.
Thank you. And may I, just for my correction, you said they are leased, right? It's just that the store, they're not occupied yet. I understand your point and what you're coming from. I hear that. I see that a lot of stores that we have in West Hollywood are leased as well, and they're coming forth. So it's not a deal breaker for me, but I'm happy to move this item forward. I see there's a motion and a second. Councilmember Heilman.
Well, I know we've closed the public hearing portion, but I would like to ask, the applicant said that the area is leased. Is it leased with a tenant coming in, or have they leased the space and they're going to leave it vacant?
We can reopen the, would you like to?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to reopen the public testimony portion. Please come on down.
Hi, this is Marina again with Kilroy Realty. It is leased to Equinox. I am not sure what their business plan is from here forward, but for a long time they were considering doing a treadmill concept, and then a treadmill concept opened next door. And so that got scrapped, and now they're trying to figure out what comes next in that space, but it is leased.
Can I ask you, are you talking about the space where the Vuori or whatever their name was as a
No.
pop-up? Okay, you're talking about the building where the signs would be.
Correct, yeah.
And you also control that frontage along Santa Monica, correct?
Sunset.
Sunset.
Sorry,
Yeah.
where the pop-up was.
Correct, yeah.
Is that leased, or is it?
We're in negotiations right now for a long-term lease, but we've been rotating through the pop-ups to keep it active.
Yeah, and I've noticed that, and I certainly appreciate that you're trying to put something in
Thank
there
you.
that activates the street.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead, Councilmember Meister.
As long as we're asking those questions. So you have 8570, right? 8570, 8580, and 8590. Of those, which is the Equinox?
They're in most of the buildings, so in different floors. Gosh, I don't have the full plan of where.
They're in different buildings, or
Yeah.
are they in one building?
So they have the Soul Cycle, which is in one of the buildings, I believe. And then there's the Equinox upstairs on this building. and there's the downstairs in that building. So I think they're in at least 2 buildings currently.
Okay, because there are 3 buildings and vacancies on all 3 buildings on the street facing retail.
But there is a lease for the
Right, so I guess the distinction is if you're making it on occupancy or on leased, and occupied meaning there is an active lease. There are active leases on over 90% of the retail currently.
So then why do we usually say, this is to staff, do we usually say that 50% leased or 50%, how do we define occupancy?
We've been using the term occupied. Yeah,
So that means leased and someone is in there.
correct.
Okay, but we're going to just give this a pass with 90% of it being leased but not occupied.
The discussion was at Planning Commission because of this unique situation was the entire building. But I mean, I understand your point, but the recommendation was from Planning Commission was just 50% of the entire building.
No, I know what they said.
Yeah,
It doesn't mean I agree with them. Thank you.
I mean,
Sounds good. Thank you. We are now going to reclose the public testimony portion. I see there's still a motion and a
Yes,
second.
I will renew my motion.
Sounds good. All right, let's go to a vote, please. And that passes 4-1. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for coming. We are now going to move on to items. There's no legislative business. We're going to now move on to item 5A. We're going to take item 5A and 5B together. I understand the last time as staff comes on down. So everyone, if you're a part of 5A or 5B, you should come on down. Yep. Are you on part of, I think our sheriffs are a part of public safety. I mean, Mulder, maybe you changed jobs before in the last 2 seconds. No, come on down, please. We're going to do both of them together. Thank you so much. The last time we had our semi-annual community safety update, I know some of us up here wanted to get right into discussion. So I wanted to recognize that we do have staff available to present a staff report. However, staff reports, the last time I think we had this update was around 20 to 30 minutes. And so I think we wanted to get more into public community comment and then for us to have a discussion. Do my colleagues disagree? No? Okay. So why don't we have the top lines? I know this is your first time with us up here. Congrats. Hello. Welcome. So why don't we go through the items 5A and 5B, the top line items, and then we'll get into public comment, and then we'll get into a larger discussion.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council, and city staff. I'm Anita Shandy, Public Safety Manager for the city. Joining me for these items on the semi-annual community safety updates, as well as the public safety equipment and technology updates, we have with us this evening Captain Bill Mulder, Lieutenant Fanny Lapkin, Sergeant Jason Duran of the West Hollywood Sheriff Station. We have Battalion Chief Sarah Rathbun from the Los Angeles County Fire Department, who serves as one of the 3 battalion chiefs in West Hollywood. And we have Steve Beacott, Director of Operations from the Block by Block Security Ambassador Program, and Vito Adamitis, Neighborhood and Business Safety Manager with the City of West Hollywood, who oversees our code enforcement program. All our presenters, along with their teams, have contributed to our semi-annual community safety update before you this evening. We will begin our brief presentations with Battalion Chief Sarah Rathbun to provide an update on our 6-month fire statistics.
I thought I was getting a new purse. Apparently not. I told my wife I'd be on WehoTV tonight, and she said, I'll be going to bed. Okay, fine. I'm here on behalf of Assistant Chief Drew Smith. He sends his regrets. He is one of only a couple nationwide FBANs, their fire behavior analysts, and his expertise is sought throughout the nation, especially during fire season like this. So thank you for having me in his place. I'm Sarah Rathbun. I'm the A Shift Battalion Chief. I'm the boots on the ground chief here in West Hollywood under Drew Smith. The city of West Hollywood is primarily served by 3 shifts of 20 personnel. They're each housed at Los Angeles County Fire Stations 7 and 8. And Assistant Fire Chief Drew Smith manages those resources within Division 7, which also includes parts of Agoura Hills, Malibu, etc., all the way down to the marina. So we just concluded some events, which you're aware of, a Marathon, Pride. We look forward to these throughout the year. A lot of our personnel actually choose West Hollywood to work because of the community engagement and because of those events. And we're looking forward to the ones coming up, specifically National Night Out. From January to June 2024, fire personnel responded to 3,591 total calls. And of these, 73% of those were medical. In addition, there were 58 total fires, 8 of which were vehicle fires, 9 of which were building fires. The remaining 41 were a combination of outside rubbish fires, dumpster fires, tree fires, and small cooking fires. And the total fire loss during this period was $343,000 approximately, and that was property damage, and in contents damage approximately $56,000. The firefighters here are strategically positioned to try and get to these events quickly, and in collaboration with our sheriff's department, who are often already in their vehicles and therefore first on scene, we managed to act extremely quickly in these situations to keep them from spreading to outbuildings and exposures. Other responses included hazardous material incidents, public assistant calls. We had a lot of elevator rescues one night when the power dipped. And in addition, station and fire prevention personnel routinely conduct inspections, and those statistics are reflected in the table below in attachment C. Lastly, I just want to mention that especially with these emergency medical calls, we've had a lot of success with our WeHo Cares partners as well as Healthcare in Action. I utilized them just probably a week ago and managed to get them to come out and make contact with one of our unhoused community members who was able to receive care. So thank you to the city for providing us extra resources. We've all worked in other places in Los Angeles County where these resources are not available, and it really makes it a lot harder to do our jobs with compassion and empathy. I will say a couple of noteworthy incidents during this time frame are listed here, but I've brought information on others, so I'll leave that open for you to ask questions as to which ones you want clarification on. And lastly, I'll just do a plug here for our CERT program because we have a few dates there that are listed, September 27th, 28th, and 29th. At the Aquatic Center. We're really proud of our CERT program and of the specific engagement of the community members here in West Hollywood. It's one of the most robust programs we have, and we're really looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for all that you do for our community. Why don't we move on to the next presentation, and whoever is going next.
Good evening, Mayor Erickson, Vice Mayor Byers, and members of the City Council. I would like to provide an overview of the Neighborhood and Business Safety Division summary from January through June of this year. Code enforcement staff conducted outreach on a total of 18 businesses to inform them about the upcoming state law, AB 1013, requiring bars and nightclubs to offer drug testing devices by July 1st. There are 18 such type businesses in the city, ABC type 48 licenses. These are only for bars and nightclubs where you have to be at least 21 years of age to enter. So staff has already conducted some outreach and will be doing additional follow-up throughout the remaining year. Code enforcement staff also conducted outreach and education efforts with 71 businesses regarding the city's single-use plastic regulations. We also conducted 4 bystander intervention trainings with the UCLA Rape Treatment Center and had a total of 206 participants. The next training session will be this Wednesday at 11 a.m. and also 7 p.m. Code enforcement staff also implemented the city's pilot proactive multifamily inspections program with contract staff posting over 850 buildings and 2,700 residential units with program flyers. Almost 800 inspections and re-inspections of common building areas and individual units within the initial program area have been completed. This has been a busy year already. From January to June, there were over 4,100 requests for service. This represents a 10% increase in the number of calls that we received for the same time period from last year. Some graphs and charts are in your attachment D on this. Also, just some trends. For short-term rental activity, we received 59 short-term rental requests submitted by residents. This represents a 42% decrease in request volume when compared to the same time frame. I might add that short-term rental complaints can sometimes be cyclical, and I would anticipate that now that we're fully in the summer months, that we would probably see an increase in those calls for service. With regard to vacant properties, there were 169 vacant property requests submitted by residents. This represents an over 320% increase in request volume when compared to the same time frame in 2023. I might add right now in the city of West Hollywood, there are 54 vacant properties in the city. 32 of those are in the stable category. 12 of them are in the at-risk category, and 10 of them are in the problematic category. I might add that these sites are checked on a weekly basis by code enforcement staff. With regard to some licensing and special event permit activity from the beginning of this year, there were 219 special event permit applications received and 183 were issued. This represents a 14% increase over the same time period from last year. We processed 25 new regulatory business licenses. This represents no change in the same and is the same amount that we had last year. We also processed 349 business license renewals. This represents a 5% increase in the amount of renewals from last year. We have staff that work in the community 7 days a week for our residents to be on call for calls for service. I just wanted to share the hours that those staff are available. That 7 days a week from Monday through Wednesday from 7 a.m. to 12 a.m., Thursdays and Sundays 7 a.m. to 3 a.m., and on Fridays and Saturdays from 7 a.m. to 4 a.m. We have a 24/7 hotline that people can contact us for any question or concern that they may have in the community. That number is 323-848-6516. And that concludes my summary of our activities for this year.
Thank you so much, Vito. Who's next?
Thank you, Vito. Next, we will turn it over to Steve Bicott, Director of Operations from Block by Block.
Thank you. And Steve, I just have to give you a quick comment. A staff member named Jeremy did an outstanding job this weekend. And I am going to forget his name if I don't say it right now, because there's been a lot of names. So I just wanted to say that good news to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and city staff. My name is Stephen Bicott. I'm the Regional Director of Operations for Block by Block. I am actually filling in tonight for Erica Leone, who's on vacation, and David Aguilar, who is unable to be here. So I do have some information regarding the last 6 months. We are continuing to perform residential and commercial patrols. We are staffing the 7 kiosks and the fixed posts at City Hall, at the park, West Hollywood Park, and at Plummer Park. We are training up new individuals all the time, and we're working on getting our staffing percentage up. A couple things that we have done starting in March was we actually contracted with an organization, and all of our staff have gone through a diversity training, and that was something that I know that was part of what the council wanted to look at. So that started in May. Everyone has gone through that, and then moving forward, every 6 months, we will once again do a training for anyone who was hired, or for some reason that if someone wants to go through that again, and we will continue on, that will be what will be ongoing. And that is in addition to our training that we provide as Block by Block, which covers such things as hospitality, possibility of an active shooter, our regular safety, such things as hot weather, all the way down to how to step off a curb. One of the things that is always important for us is statistics. So I'd like to give you some. These are January through June 2024 versus January for June 2023. So we had calls for service, so that way our folks that are calling into us This year, we're looking at 3,284. Last year was 1,451, so that is a significant increase. Unhoused community member contacts, 2,313 in 2023 versus 6,058 in 2024. That is a major increase. And safety escorts, when we actually will, people for the public will call in, they would like us to walk either to a back front parking structure or to a house or apartment. That was 182 in 2023 and 149 in 2024. So that's a little lower. We actually like to see those numbers go a little bit higher and have members of the community feel comfortable in calling us, asking them to walk into the car or to residence or whatever it may be. You do have a PowerPoint that has some graphs on there. I pulled out ones that particularly for me, when I'm looking at are significant. 6,000 plus additional business contacts on Santa Monica Boulevard from 2024 to 2023. 497 additional bike miles on Sunset, so folks are getting their cardio in. 703 additional bike miles on Melrose. While these are additional miles, this also helps with, as you're seeing those business contacts, because we're not just riding, we're stopping, we'll ride a block, we'll get off for a block, make some business contacts, and get back on the bike. Also, when we get off the bike, it's a chance for folks to call us down, ask questions, whether it might be hospitality questions, or if a business is having a problem, or a resident, then they can contact us that way. Also, hospitality assists increase in Plummer Park by 1,208 from this year to last, and in WeHo Park from 659.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, and I believe last but certainly not least is our Sheriff's Department, Captain Mulder.
Thank you, Steve. Before turning it over to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, I wanted to provide a quick update related to public safety equipment and technology items that were approved the last time staff presented to council. The city's Community Safety Department, in partnership with the West Hollywood Sheriff's Station, is finalizing its review into the non-sworn, unarmed community safety officer program that various cities have in place to supplement sworn law enforcement services. Community safety officer programs support and enhance the services provided by sworn law enforcement officers to increase the safety and well-being of the communities they serve. Community safety officers can respond to non-emergency calls and complete reports on their own without the need for a sworn law enforcement response. Community safety officers can also be trained in fingerprinting and DNA collection, which aids in the investigation and efficient apprehension of suspects that have committed crimes. This collaborative approach has proven to enhance faster service to the community, as it allows sworn law enforcement officers the ability to be more proactive and respond more quickly to emergency calls. A review of a proposed community safety officer program will be presented to the City Council for discussion within the third quarter of this calendar year. Per the City Council approval on December 4th, 2023, the City placed an order for a Polaris utility task vehicle in the amount of $55,167.82, which will arrive in the City this fiscal year. Due to the increase in cost of materials and outfitting, the Polaris purchase cost approximately $15,000 more than the originally approved amount. The increase was fully supported from the Community Safety Department's existing budget, with no additional funds requested. The Polaris utility task vehicle will be utilized by community safety staff during major events such as Pride, Halloween, and Ciclavia, allowing for mobility when trying to maneuver in large crowds or during street closures when there are significant impacts to traffic. The utility task vehicle will provide staff a safe and efficient avenue to attend various meetings, assess and respond to complaints, and patrol to identify any issues or unpermitted activities. The City Council approved implementing the following safety enhancements. The first was the installation of Level 3 ballistic protection at certain city facilities in certain areas based on suggestions provided by our law enforcement partners. And the second item was proactive security monitoring at city facilities. The city has made significant strides towards enhancing security measures at its facilities with the impending installation of ballistic protection and implementation of proactive security monitoring systems. Following extensive research and vendor consultations, the city will commence these crucial upgrades within the current fiscal year. Staff is currently working on a request for proposal to secure a vendor for the ballistic protection installation. The installation will begin, if not be completed, by this year. A plan on making a vendor selection for the proactive security monitoring at city facilities will be made by the end of next month. Within the third quarter of this calendar year, city staff, in partnership with the West Hollywood Sheriff's Station, will be returning to City Council with an item to provide updates on the public safety technology items I just mentioned, as well as those that will be presented tonight if approved. Around the same time, we will be presenting an overarching public safety plan for review to the City Council. The plan will provide a general overview of the West Hollywood Sheriff's Station response in addressing emerging issues and approaches to prevent crimes. I will now turn it over to Captain Bill Mulder and Sergeant Jason Duran from the West Hollywood Sheriff's Station to provide the semi-annual crime statistics and data, followed by the public safety technology items for the City of West Hollywood.
Great.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, staff, and our community. We chatted earlier. Did you want to kind of...
So I think just top levels for what we can expect, so then we can get to questions and then public comment, and then I think the actual meat of tonight's argument. But do you want to... Nope? Okay. Is that okay?
Sorry? To forgo?
Brief. You know,
Yeah.
Top lines, the stuff that we see. That we've read, stuff like that. We want to hear from the public and get to the actual
Absolutely.
commentary.
Then I'll give a quick overview.
And that's not because we don't love you.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I'll ramble on that. I don't want to subject anybody to that. So I'll just do a quick overview of what my comments were. Basically, for the period of January 2024 to June of 2024, our Part 1 crimes rate dropped over 10%, so which is good news. And our Part 2 crime rate also dropped over 12% in that same time period. So, however, it was still a concern. Residential burglaries, robberies, and pickpocketing remain concerns for us, obviously, with every other crime as well. So, the only good number for crime is 0. Other than that, we try to do our best to keep it as low as possible. But we've then, those particular crimes that I mentioned of residential burglary, robbery, and pickpocketing specifically, we have done multiple things to address those. So as you know, we have 2 teams at the station. We have our cops team during the day, our entertainment policing team during the evening. Every week, generally every week, they do a special operation, which is either a saturation patrol, undercover, plainclothes, or another type to address these different issues that we see that are happening. And that's driven by statistics. Whatever's happening in the city in terms of risk to city, risk to our community, and also number of, we do different things to address those. So we've been doing that. We've also brought in people from our department that are in other units, from our major crimes to our narcotics bureau, our reserve forces. They've all helped out in various operations doing various things. And those types of activities will continue and to address what's happening now and whatever's going to be happening in the future. So we're really excited, though, about our public safety technology item tonight. Thank you again, City Council, for providing us with the ALPR cameras, the automated license plate reader cameras. Increasing them from 1 to 40 has been a huge difference. It's helped, I think, safety in our community. It's also a deterrent. Things like the ALPR cameras, as well as what we'll talk about later, fixed and mobile cameras, about a drone program, about a real-time watch center. Those things make meaningful impact to public safety and send a message to people who don't come to our community to commit crimes, because we're going to do everything we can to prevent that and then catch people that are engaging in activity or prevent them from doing it in the first place. At the station, a couple quick things. We're doing a wellness program for our deputies, creating a wellness room for them. Wellness is extremely important. I think my last time I was here, I think I commented about that. Last year we had 8 suicides on our department, and so we've initiated a wellness program for our deputies here at the station. Like I said, we're putting together a wellness room in partnership with the West Hollywood Sheriff's Foundation and a lot of great businesses and people in our community that are willing to step up and help us out create that, and giving deputies that opportunity to have those moments, because it serves them better as human beings, and then it goes and serves the community better as well. So those are a couple highlight, overview things, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
We will. So why don't we now move on, and thank you very much. Why don't we now move on to some questions for staff before we do have 3 members of the public. Councilmember Howman, do you have questions at this time?
I have a couple of questions and then some comments, but I can hold the comments until after.
Okay.
And this is sort of primarily for the fire department and our building and our code enforcement staff. Thank you for being here. There are a number of buildings that are problematic buildings that are in bad condition. We've had issues with them. My understanding is that the fire department has actually told members of the public that these buildings should be torn down because they're so dangerous. And I would hope in the future that that would be communicated directly to the city council as well. There was a building on Fountain, I think we're all aware of, that has had a fire and has had multiple fires. And there are problems with our ordinances that prevent our staff from taking action, but I think it would be helpful if that kind of information is communicated directly to the city council and the city manager and our building and safety staff, as well as our code enforcement. So I don't know if what I heard is true, that it was communicated to members of the public, but not necessarily to the city. And I don't know if you can respond to that at all. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, first I want to say thank you for your concern around this issue. If you do look at our statistics, several of the single-digit fires that we had in that 6 months were abandoned buildings. And one was only abandoned recently, as I recall off the top of my head. Paperwork's back there, but it was a person who had passed away 1 month earlier, left a few pieces of clothing on top of the heater. Sometimes these things happen. People occupy buildings that are not intended to be occupied because they're unhoused or because they just, don't have anywhere else to go in that time period. And they are, in the same way that the sheriffs deal with, a collective nuisance in some ways. I'm not aware of any official commentary regarding what it should be torn down or not. I will say that we all agree that these are a danger, and that's across law enforcement as well, and that we're very encouraged by the efforts of the city and the community to actually find occupants for these, whether they're businesses or residences. And seeing all of the developments here at the city council meeting today has reinforced that we're moving in the right direction there. But if there is something we can do, and I'll let code enforcement address that, to reduce the number of vacant buildings in the city, I think we'd all agree that would be best for all of us.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure you know that we're all interested in hearing from the department. If there is a dangerous condition out there and you don't feel it's being addressed, communicate directly with us, communicate with our city manager. I'm not faulting our staff. Sometimes they don't have the tools, or we haven't given them the proper tools to address the situation, but we need to know about it. So,
yeah, of course. That sounds like a firefighter venting to a member of the public that they don't want something bad to happen and they're hoping that the threat will be removed. But we appreciate the open line of communication, and we have a wonderful relationship with our city folks that we deal with every day as far as the public safety managers. So thank you for that.
Thanks.
Great.
My other question, I think, is maybe for Anita, and it may have predated you. I did an agenda item about noise and problems, particularly with vehicles with modified exhaust or no exhaust. And I don't know where we're at with that, if that has gotten lost in the shuffle with more pressing issues.
Thank you. That conversation has definitely come up in my time, and I know that it is an issue that we are still trying to work through. I know our Sheriff's Department has done some specific assignments on intersections where they know that there is a high frequency of either people, using their vehicles in a certain way that magnifies the muffler sounds and all of that. So it is definitely still on our radar, and we will continue to work closely with our Sheriff's Department to address that issue.
Okay. And I think the agenda item called for the development of a strategy and return to council. So hopefully that'll come back to us.
Thank you.
My other things were comments. I'll wait for.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Councilmember Meister, do you have questions?
I did have some questions. I have a question for our captain. On the appendix on page 20, on the CIT activity, there's care, homeless outreach operations, and I just didn't know if that was our CARES team or which care is it?
So it's prior to the CARES team. Is a program that we had at that point. There was money that the council had provided to address people that are experiencing homelessness, and so we created the CARES program, which is contact, assist, giving resources, and the last would be enforcement. So that's something our cops, entertainment policing team did, conducted different operations at that time to go out, reach out, and provide some of these resources to people to help them out and to see what we can do to mitigate those circumstances they're experiencing. So that's what we had. Used to have that.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying, because we have a lot of CARES things
out there. We do.
Yeah,
there's a lot of them. Yeah.
Yes, because we do care. I know that overall it looks like certain crimes have gone down, but it seems like the West Side is getting slammed. Are we getting slammed, and what are we doing about it?
Yeah, so the higher percentage of the Part 1 crimes are occurring on the west side of town. When we about robberies, pickpocketing, and other types of theft, mostly are happening on the west side of town. So the operations that I spoke of earlier, not only our station operations, but other units we bring in, a lot of those are focused in that area. Again, are kind of how we the operations that we conduct are based on the statistics we get in and where the crimes are happening and so forth. And so that's one thing, part of the item that's coming up with our public safety technology, looking at the fixed cameras, but we're also looking at buying a mobile camera as well. So to maybe put in areas that don't have the fixed cameras temporarily to help mitigate or at least gather information if something does happen. Yeah, so to your point, we're looking to do more, not only citywide, but on the west side where the more of the majority of the Part 1 crimes are occurring.
Yeah, because I know of several house burglaries just in my 2-block radius, and another house that was broken into, and appreciate the decoy car.
Yeah, indeed. One of those, I think one of the burglaries that you're talking about, actually, just to report some good news, our burglary theft task force with LAPDs did arrest multiple individuals, and I think they had them for about 33 residential burglaries, one of them including one that happened right in the area that you're speaking of. So we did arrest people with regard to one of those in concert with our burglary theft task force and LAPD.
Great. And then I just have one question for Anita. Anita, it's regarding I'm not sure what you're calling them, the hybrid public safety officer person. I know that you're looking into that, and that was something I had actually emailed Danny Rivas about several months ago, and had seen a employment want ad for that position from Santa Monica, and it seemed like a really interesting combination of responsibilities and qualities. I didn't hear you say, but I just want to, I seem to remember it in the Santa Monica one, that it also involved code, so that this person could also give citations, for like a code enforcement issue. Is that, well?
We're definitely exploring all options. There is a lot of capacity in this position, so what we're doing is doing a lot of research with our neighboring cities that already deploy this program to see where the pros and cons are of deploying all these types of different access to the code, to the community safety officers. So whether it's writing reports, doing DNA, issuing the citations. So as we conduct research with all of the cities, we're going to collaborate with our sheriff's department, break down all the different types of roles and responsibilities that this position can potentially take over, and see what works best for the city of West Hollywood. And then when we bring that forward to City Council, we will propose all the different assignments that this position can take on for your feedback and approval.
And does that include looking for prints when there's a robbery? Because I know that sometimes it takes days to get detective, and by that time, like if it was my mother's house, she would have cleaned them already. So that would be great if that's something that's, that's done right away.
Yeah, it is definitely one of the capabilities of a community safety officer, is to do DNA and fingerprinting.
Okay, great. And then there's just one more question for our city manager. I don't see anything about our WeHo Cares mobile unit. We had the report from our social services division, and then looking here, and there's nothing in either place. And so I'm just wondering, when is that going to come back to us for us to have a discussion about how that's going and what we would like to see for future with that mobile unit?
We'll find out when that's coming back. Sounds like there's going to be more discussion. So by the time you all finish and after public comments, we'll have an estimated date of when that's coming.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Shine.
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Meister. I'm going to add to your WeHo Cares comment. I actually am surprised that there's not data, since WeHo Cares has been in existence now for how many months? It's been 6 months. And when the data comes back, I think that it's really important to have it at the semi-annual community safety update, regardless of being cross-departmental, because we are looking at community safety holistically. So having the WeHo Cares team data will be really important.
So excited, just got an answer, and it was going to be sooner than that.
And you shall
but so the staff can be ready by October. The next public safety update will be in December. So we can either bring a separate item and then start combining them later, or we can wait until December if that's the desire of the council.
Maybe a consent item, just a little update, but it needs to, I feel it needs to be combined, because it's a holistic view of everything. We're dealing with unhoused, dealing with residents. This is, the WeHo Cares team really is about safety, so.
Okay. All right.
And I have some questions. Captain Mulder, first, I know we haven't had public comment, but I just wanted to say thank you to you and all the first responders and your team and Block by Block for a wonderful job for Pride and the safety that we had. It was wonderful. I'm wondering that, just to get some clarification, Part 1 crimes are down. Residential burglary, you mentioned, is up from the last time we had a public safety update. Is that right?
So the residential burglary numbers, we've been tracking them and following them. Is something
Yeah.
we've been, and they've kind of been up and down, but it's still a concerning crime because the propensity for violence and the fact that
Yeah.
somebody's home. I think obviously in the packet that you were given in terms of our the update, we did make an arrest. One individual tried to break into a home with somebody trying to enter their home, and they kind of physically assaulted them, and they did indeed break into somebody else's home, but we were able to catch that individual. So. We've been tracking them. They've been kind of going up and down, but it's something that we're not going to drop off our radar just because of the type of crime that is.
Right. When did the added patrol car go into effect that we added back to your numbers?
Yeah, that went into effect just after the beginning of the year. Just after the beginning of the year. Because I think it was restored in December.
Yeah.
And then I think sometime in January, right in there, we then added them back. So we had 2 deputy car, no-call car that was addressing those issues.
And a big part of the reason why, and that discussion of adding that patrol car back was dealing with residential burglaries in your plan of action that you were going to put into place for lowering residential burglaries.
Correct. Yeah.
Can you specifically tell me what the stats were before that car was into place and now with residential burglaries?
So those would have been statistics prior to January 1st and June of this year. So we kind of were focusing on these. But if we go to, let's see, the burglary page, I don't know it off the top of my head, but if we go to the burglary page, we have the burglary. How was it compared to last year? So we went down compared to the last comparative period, would be January 2023 to June 2023, the January 2024 to June 2024.
Right.
It went down over 20%, what, 21? 15%. Oh, 15%, went down 15%.
Great.
15%.
Okay, so since the patrol car has come into place.
Yeah, yes, comparing this period to the last period when we didn't have that restored deputy back.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to know, but with all the different numbers in your comments, I wasn't sure what the actual stats were.
Oh, yeah, it's
So
15,
it's helpful to have
so
the patrol car.
Yeah, beginning of the year, first 6 months compared to last year's first 6 months, it's those residential burglars are down 15%.
Down 15%. Wonderful. Okay. And just one more question. The drone, this is for the other item, putting the drone into, if the drone is implemented, I read that we're going to take a patrol deputy off.
So yeah, so what we're going to be doing is contracting with the company that will supply the drones, maintain them and all that, and have a fixed place here to launch them. Once the drone's launched, and they have to be an eye of sight as well, they'll function as that for us. And then the deputy will then, the deputy currently, 2 deputies currently have their FAA training. There's training through our Special Enforcement Board they'll go through prior to flying, but they will then fly the drone. They will be in the station and then fly the drone to the call. So to your question, will they be taken out of the field? Yes, but we can still look at them as a field deputy, but in a different way. They're a technology field deputy operating the drone, and the drone program, as I've said before, is outstanding. It's really a good way to diffuse or to diffuse these situations. And so they will be taken out of the field, but that deputy really kind of has a different function, responding kind of in a different way with the drone rather than a police car.
Thank you.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Byers? Wonderful, thank you. I just have a few questions. First with City Manager Wilson. I was trying to add up all the numbers from the amount that we invest in public safety to this additional public safety expense in the item 5B, I believe. Is this one of the largest single investments that the city's really been making in public safety over the last few years? $750 to $1 million just for these new technological services?
I think it's certainly the largest investment for a new thing. I think our annual contract sometimes has increased around that amount based on some of the adjustments and things we've done in the past. But this is certainly the largest individual item of new things, public safety-wise.
Wonderful. And what is, just for my edification, the amount that we have in our public safety contract? Let's just use the sheriff's for an example. How much does it go to?
The sheriff's contract itself is just over $20 million, right around $21 million.
Wonderful. Thank you. Money well spent, in my opinion. A couple of questions, and then we'll get to the public comments. In terms of the at-home burglaries, what is the cause? Like, when you go talk to these individuals who've experienced this crime, is it one of them accidentally left and they said, you know, Bob locked the door and Bob didn't lock the door? Or is it while they're home and someone's trying to get in through a window? What is it something that the city could help out with the sheriff's department through educational, items? Or what is the root cause, in your opinion? I know every crime is unfortunately different, but...
No, Mayor's a good question. So I think there's multiple different causes. Certainly there's an open door or window. There's people come in like target areas that they know they might, if they break into a home, there'll be items there that would be worth something to steal. Yeah. And then there's other reasons too, as well, why people will be targeted. So. But I think something to your question, I know that the city used to have that ring program, giving discounts or maybe I forgot exactly how the program was, but offering that or any other, not endorsing one particular company, but any like doorbell with a video, maybe something that we can do with that, because the more cameras that are out there, if somebody's coming in to break in, if we get a video of them or a photo of them, that goes a long way for us to A, help identify that person, and then B, help prosecute that person. So I think that's really helpful. Having good lighting, other video, alarm system, being aware, obviously, of it's a hard time now. I know it's hot outside. People want to leave their windows open and so forth, but those are things that, generally you want to kind of be careful of and monitor. And there's ways to do that. And I think that I can certainly have that conversation with Danny Rivas, and we can maybe put some suggestions out there. But like programs, again, like that, doorbell camera program for the city to offer, that might be something that's really helpful.
Wonderful. That was my only question. I have some comments. Let's move on to public comment. Thank you so much, my colleagues. Let's move on. Do we have any in Zoom? Nope. All right. We're going to move on to Nick Roybal, to be followed by Steve Martin.
Evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. First, I want to shout out to our entire Sheriff's Deputy leadership team. I don't know of any other city where community members can build professional, meaningful, trustworthy relationships with a captain, a lieutenant, and a sergeant. So my hat's off to each of you and every single deputy that works on your behalf, on all of our behalves. I believe that we should be giving what our sheriff deputies need and what they want. These statistics, council members, are misleading. What is the stat on armed robbery? It's up over 100%, correct? So yes, we may say overall crime is down, but armed robbery is up. We talked about the, Councilmember Shine, you mentioned the vehicle and you're looking at stats, and that deputy. Why and how did armed robbery increase with that increased deputy on patrol? Where are these guns coming from in our city, and what are we going to do about it? Can that be a campaign, whether with Brady, with every town, et cetera? So that's another idea. I recently watched a video with Mayor Brock of the city of Santa Monica and deputies. In that, it was revealed that Mayor Bass of LA City just gave LAPD a 20% pay increase. Maybe we should give our deputies a pay increase because there's an approximate, they're down 1,700 deputies. Hate crimes are up by religion in our city, doubled. I would like to say anti-Jewish hate has no place in our city. Identity theft is up. Speeding is up. People texting, talking on the phone is up. Also, with the DOJ, the reporting on gender, Mayor Erickson, Vice Mayor Byers, I wonder what we can do, because it's by male and female, real quick, I promise. In terms of trans and non-binary, I know that's a federal law, but what we can do as a progressive city to maybe make those changes. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve Martin to be followed by our last public commenter, Wes Sigmiller.
Council members, and thank you, Nick. You always have such good responses. It is exciting. This last weekend, I experienced a home invasion. It turned out to be some homeless raccoons, but it's still we have to keep our doors closed. It is exciting that we've got a lot of technology. These hybrid deputies sound like a great idea. You know, maybe they can spend time doing reports that are really time-consuming for deputies. The new technology is important. The use of block by block, I think we should not necessarily redeploy them, but reinforce the patrolling of these 54 vacant buildings so that we keep it down to 10 or 12 problematic buildings, because these are real complaints in the city. I don't think it takes a firefighter or even a rocket scientist to figure out that a lot of these vacant buildings just need to be taken down. And I appreciate the fact that Councilmember Heilman is talking about looking at new policies to do that. And I think maybe you need to set up a task force of people who live in the community, planning commissioners and public safety commissioners, to get the ball rolling and talk about what the city's ultimate goals are. Because it's not like 20 or 30 years ago. These buildings, for the most part, are very old. They're gonna get knocked down anyway. It doesn't make a lot of sense to keep buildings up when we know there's a 90 to almost 100% possibility or probability that they're gonna come down. I have to say, we appreciate the funding for our National Night Out, which is on August 6th. This year's East Side is going to be on Gardner. And I guess probably the big issue for people in our side of the hill or our side of the city, is concerns about response times from the sheriff and ambulances when the city goes forward, if the city goes forward on reducing Fountain to 1 lane in each direction. Thank you
very much, Steve. Wes Sigmiller is our last public commenter.
Hey, how are you folks? My name is Wes Sigmiller, so I apologize for my dogs. I know that's uncouth, but I'm here basically to speak in opposition to these surveillance systems. I'm so sorry. He is an attention monger. So basically, look, I know this might make sense in the short term, but I'm a newsman, and so I really, I see the bigger picture with the harms of these surveillance systems. So, for example, European cities like in Belgium, Germany, Italy, Sweden, and Ireland are set to deploy an EU-funded trial of AI-surveilled cities. These systems include 3 systems that the name says a lot, including Marvel, used to detect criminal acts, Protector, used to protect places of worship from hate crimes, which sounds great, but this last one, Pre-Crisis, used to identify any vulnerabilities in the monitored places. These systems detect suspected behaviors based on audio and video inputs, reporting them to law enforcement agencies. So, look, the big picture here is that everywhere, every local municipality where these systems have been employed have eventually expanded their scale and case usage without exception. And when we look at places like the UK with the ULEZ system, once it's fully implemented and operational, they are incredibly unpopular. In the UK, we're seeing organized vigilantes that call themselves the Blade Runners, systemically dismantling these systems, and these are people from working class neighborhoods. I don't condone that type of thing, but I can understand their grievances. Additionally, this week in China, we're seeing very lively protests against their own super ubiquitous social credit score system and camera system. So look, we just need to think of the big picture. We're a creative city. Let's be a little more creative than blanket surveillance. Thank you.
Thank you, West. All right, we're going to now move on to comments. I'm going to go to my left. Councilmember Heilman, would you like to start with your comments?
Sure. Again, thank you, and thank you to the public who shared their input. My comments are, first of all, thank you for all of the work you do. Secondly, the focus based on your report seems to be, and it should be for us, armed robbery. That's the sort of thing that gets a lot of attention. It's frightening for our visitors and our residents to hear about those things. And that, I think, has to be one of our highest priorities. The residential burglaries as well. That is, you know, it creates a problem for people in terms of them not feeling safe at home. And that's something that is just really devastating for people who've had their home broken into. And then not as serious as a crime, but I think it contributes to people's concerns are the mailbox thefts, where people are having their checks stolen, they're having their personal information stolen, and that seems to be something that we should be able to get a better handle on. I see Vito is still here, so I'm hoping that that building on Fountain that is problematic, that our existing code will allow that to get demolished, and that that will be brought to us, or that it can be done even without it being brought to council. I really appreciate the work you're doing with the Wellness Center. I think we as a city should be contributing to it as we did for, you know, some of your rec facilities at the station. And I hope you'll have that conversation with the city manager about how the city can participate in the funding for that. I like the idea about the Ring videos and the discussion about how significant that can be for individuals to have that. I think our early program really focused heavily on single-family homes because that's where they're most commonly used. I'm hoping that we could have some kind of conversation, or maybe our staff could research ways that we could expand that program to cover apartment buildings, and maybe even some kind of grant program or low interest loans or technical assistance for apartment owners, as well as condo buildings that don't already have security cameras. A lot of the buildings do have cameras. I would also like us to make that a condition of approval for new development in the city. If new residential or commercial buildings are being built, there should be security cameras already. I know the concern about surveillance, but any business you're going into today has security cameras, and especially the bars and nightclubs. They have cameras all over the place, and they often have people monitoring what's happening while it's going on. So I'm not so worried about it when you're out on a public street where everyone can see what you're doing. And then the final thing, my final comment is really just maybe some kind of conversation has to be had with our social services department around homelessness, because I've had this conversation, and Chelsea, the vice mayor, and I serve on the homeless subcommittee, and I've always gotten this pushback that we can't have law enforcement interacting with homeless individuals because of uniforms and they'll be traumatized. But if there are 6,000 contacts with block by block and homeless individuals, and block by block doesn't really have enforcement abilities. I think we need to have a conversation about how we're dealing with homeless individuals who are resisting service and not willing to accept service, and yet are engaging in criminal activities such as trespassing and antisocial behavior. We need to have a conversation about how that process works and how we're going to address that. So I hope we'll have that conversation at some point in the upcoming council meetings. And those were all my comments, but again, thank you for all your work.
Lovely. Vice Mayor Byers, would you like to go? We'll just go left.
Sure, I will go. And I skipped questions, so I just have a couple I want to come back to, if that's okay. But first, just regarding the safety update itself, I appreciate the public speaker who noted some of the increase in traffic incidents. That's what I wanted to uplift, the felony hit and run and collisions involving pedestrians and cyclists. Those are certainly things that make me feel unsafe, and it still feels like we don't have a real strategy on how to rein in some of that speeding that's happening across our community, although I have seen the motorcycle deputies out ticketing and citing people in more frequency, so I do appreciate that. I do want to also just name, and it wasn't folded into any of this report, but it's something that we are become aware of on council side, and it's just giving me bigger concerns, and that's the safety of the staff who are out in the community. And this goes beyond LASD, although I certainly understand the line of fire you are all in, but it has been shocking and disturbing to me to see the number of incidents increasingly targeting our block-by-block security ambassadors, as well as I believe our parking security personnel as well. And just really appreciate the work you are all doing out in community, understand the intensity, and yeah, just really troubled by the expressions of displeasure, of frustration that people are expressing in such violent forms against our staff. So I just wanted to name that as something that's really troubling, and do appreciate the efforts that all of you are taking as organizations and entities to support the staff at that level. It's something we all have to keep in mind too. When it comes specific to the technology updates, I did have a question, and I think Captain Mulder, you said something that maybe got me confused or was clarity, but I wasn't sure. It was specific to the drone, and that this will be flown in line of sight, or is this, did we get a waiver exemption to do the beyond visual line of sight?
Yeah, so as we move forward, I think we'll get that waiver, but there has to be a person up on the roof to spot and have some kind of eyes on where it's kind of going. But we can get that authorization. Like,
but we don't currently have it.
So okay, the program isn't up and running yet. So once we do get the program up and running, that will be one of the considerations.
Okay. That's helpful. I appreciate too the work. I know before, when this council was first considering these items, we had said we wanted to see the policies written in full before we considered moving forward with some of these things. And I did have some concerns or hesitation regarding the policy specific to the like public protest, public demonstration, some of that. It didn't feel exactly clear to me what was happening there. But I think my bigger concern with all of these things is just community buy-in and support. We're before us tonight with, you know, as the mayor noted, one of the most expensive or cost-intensive items of our public safety conversations. I know I've only been here for a year and a half, but I do have big concerns that I don't feel the community is properly engaged in the extent to which these conversations should warrant. I know California lawmakers made a decision with AB 481, which was about ensuring that all of this sort of military-grade equipment happens within public process, and that's certainly what's happening at council tonight. But as the creative city, I do think we have a lot more we can do to engage people in these conversations, should we be willing to truly move forward with them. And that's just something I can't help but feel named when we only have 3 public commenters on this item tonight. I don't take that for full consent and buy-in, but I take it for not truly noticing or knowing what is coming before the council. And given that these programs do allow for some of that mission creep, as we just sort of heard that, you know, we'll get an exemption to do things a little differently at some point in this process, potentially too, that has concern to me. And not for this program not having value, but that we have to have community buy-in for something like this to not become further detrimental. So that's a big concern I have, that I don't feel like we totally have that tonight. And, you know, this council recently entertained the idea that we would move the radius around development from 500 feet to 1,000. So we are intensely and very focused on making sure that we're including as many people as possible in these conversations. And given our role tonight in effectively normalizing this very complicated technology in our community, I frankly feel very uncomfortable with doing that without a broader level of conversation in the community. You know, in this report, the data that's been looked at most closely is Chula Vista Police Department. It's a municipality. We have to work across agency lines a little differently. And all of this to be said, there still isn't really third-party research on the efficacy of these programs. And I can appreciate that we as a city, with our resources, are able to take a big leap into a new area and terrain for us to have new tools to bring, but I think that also gives us a tremendous responsibility to ensure these tools are laid out responsibly within a deeper level of understanding within our community. So I would ask that before moving forward with 5B, we consider a broader level of community engagement, and that's where I'm at.
Thank you so much, Vice Mayor Byers. Councilmember Shan, would you like to go next?
Yes, thank you. I'm also in agreement with Councilmember Byers. I feel that a broader level of community engagement is necessary before we make a decision on this. And I'll give some more reasoning as well. The other cities that have these items are different than ours. We're dealing with cities that have their own police departments. So because we contract with the LA County Sheriff's Department, we don't have the same level of, we have a different duty to our residents because in cities such as Santa Monica, they have their own police department. So if there's an issue, they go to, the city's has a level of control and authority with those police departments because it's their own. We don't. So our residents would then have to go to the sheriff's and make complaints to the sheriff's department, which is separate than us. And by virtue of our contract, we are hands off, and that provides a different level of duty to our residents to make sure they fully understand what's happening. And also, we've just put the patrol car back on duty, and I know that the residents really wanted us to add back the patrol car, and I see that there has been a drop in crime and in burglaries, so that's amazing, but it's only been 6 months. So I also feel it's too soon to take then a patrol deputy off the street so that they can become, sit in the station and have the drone in their place for something that is not fully tested, and $750,000 at this time for us to decide tonight to spend on this. I can think of so many other things. For example, perhaps the community, given so many issues with the unhoused folks, perhaps the community would rather us spend $560,000 on our own second Met team instead, or something else. We don't know. We need more community input for this. And we approved a PIO officer, 2 PIO officers, right? Community liaison and a PIO officer that still has not been added to the department. So for me, I can't support this tonight. I would be in support of getting more community input and postponing any decision on this for maybe till next year. Then we have a full year with the patrol deputy that we just put on and seeing how crimes trend that way and getting full community input. So our residents are aware. This is a huge change for the city of West Hollywood to have cameras in our streets, drones up in the air, and I would like more community buy-in, and so that's where I am tonight.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Shine. Councilmember Meister.
Thank you, Mayor. So regarding the 5A report, I just want to bring up that there's been a problem also with cell phone SIM swapping. That's like a big topic of conversation now. I've read it in the Times, and I think, and that's leads to identity theft. So I think that we should probably have staff maybe look at some kind of educational, materials on that, because it is new, and it is something that people don't think could happen to them, and then it does, and then next thing they know, their bank accounts are being, just from a cell phone SIM swapping. So I'd like us to look at that. Regarding some of the traffic collision information, Fairfax and Fountain and Crescent Heights and Santa Monica Boulevard, just would like engineering division to look at that, to look at the lights and see if there's something that we could be doing better, especially at Crescent Heights and Santa Monica Boulevard. I've been asking for staff to look at a left turn lane for quite a while, going north. When you're going north, going either east or west, but just to have that going west, and then also going south, going east. I think it's really important because that going into that one lane, it is problematic, and I can understand why there are accidents there. Regarding vacant properties, as Councilmember Heilman mentioned, there are probably things that we could be doing with our ordinances to make that, to be dealing with vacant properties differently. But one thing that I think we need to be looking at is in our rent stabilization department, what I know is that when somebody sells their house, and if there's been a renter there, they get them out because it's easier to get the renter out then at that time to pay them off to go, and then the new owner, the house sits there for a year, 2 years. There's several houses on my street that have been literally vacant. One's been vacant for 3 or 4 years. The other one they did tear down, but we still have problems because there's an ADU in the back, and that we still have transient issues there. And so I wonder if our rent stabilization department can be looking at ways that, like if there's a tenant there, ways that we can let them stay until such time that the new owner is looking to redevelop, if they're looking to redevelop the property. It'd be better to have someone there than no one at all. And so I think we should be looking at that as well. Regarding station volunteers, want to thank them for their 1,933 donated hours valued at $74,631. We appreciate them. Regarding the 5B, the update on public safety equipment and technology, I feel like we've had several public hearings about this or items about this at council, but we've also had it at the Public Safety Commission. One of the big issues for me is the fact that we are having trouble hiring enough people. And so if you don't have the people, then you need the technology. And we should be giving our sheriff's department and our fire department every tool in the toolbox in order to make our communities safer and make them more efficient. Because if they only have 60 people, even though we said they can have 62 people, then we need to be able to give them those tools, like the cameras, like the drone, to be able to make them more efficient with less personnel. My hope would be that if we got the drone and a person, that we would eventually be able to get another person who would just handle the drone, and we could put somebody back out on the street. I'm also, again, very interested in that hybrid position. I've been talking to Danny about it for quite a while, and I think that could be a great asset to both the sheriffs and a way of leveraging how we use block by block versus, where they fit in, where this hybrid position fits in, which I think would be a lot more effective in a lot of situations that block by block has found themselves in, and really, just based on their own, what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do, they can't do anything. So those are my comments, and I'm supportive of 5B. I don't share the same concerns about privacy in public places. I don't ever expect that if I do something in public, like someone didn't pick up after their dog right in front of my house, and I got them on camera, and you're out there. It's the public space, and there should be that expectation that if you're doing something wrong, then maybe you're going to get caught. And if cameras help because we don't have the personnel to be on every street, then to me, for me to feel safer, if there was a camera on Melrose and Westbourne, or in somewhere in a residential neighborhood, I don't have a problem with that. I think that anything that makes our community feel safer is what we should be doing. We have the money to do it. And we have brought this up in public a number of times, and I feel like we just keep pushing this, and I think we should at least try it. If we don't like it, then sell that equipment to Santa Monica. All right, thank you.
We have it because we have a record budget surplus. I just had to say it because you always say it when I do it. So there we go. Thank you so much to Anita. Great job. For staff, whatever we call this, congratulations. We're not so scary up here. Thank you so much to our amazing fire team, our block by block, our city staff, and of course our sheriff's personnel for spending so much time on this really important topic. So it sounds like 5A, we've all given sort of direction, discussion. There's no official action that's really needed on 5A. I want to commend you for a lot of these stats. I know that nothing is perfect. Mulder, you said it perfectly yourself. The right number is 0, but we live in complex times. And so I know that you are all doing everything to keep us safe. I know that everyone is trying to keep us safe. I would love, I've talked to staff about this. I believe the kiosks do work. I think that we've seen a drastic, what's the right word? A drastic improvement at Sal Goriello Veterans Memorial. I think care and outreach teams have been able to work there more effectively. And I think that if we could look at, and I know I've spoken with Danny on this, at Kings Road Park, it closes at dusk, but there was an individuals happen there, and we need to bombard them with care, from the Met team to everything at our social service agencies. I do agree with what Councilmember Heilman said. I'm actually working on a group with our contract cities right now with the grants pass decision at the Supreme Court. I'm trying to find best practices on how contract service cities are going to be dealing with homelessness, because if we are getting into every city has a different way in which they now can enact the ordinances that are allowed, even though our city does have an ordinance like that already on the books. What does that look like? So I think that's going to be another tool in our toolbox coming down the pike, hopefully, and I'm excited contract cities will be doing that. I'm really glad to see Part 1 crime down, Part 2 crime down, any type of educational teams that we can do around any type of house break-in would be great. Anita, I know I've spoken to Danny about this, but the reason why I do support the cameras in the public realm is, I think, a couple of things. One, we're already being surveilled. Like, people are watching us right now. It's just happening. I know it doesn't make it right, it doesn't make it wrong, but I would rather err on the side of caution with that. And the reason why I say this is because of an individual who did happen to be armed, robbed at gunpoint a few months ago, and I know our sheriff's department is working really hard to get that individual and his friends justice, as well as I've been in direct communication with him as well and his friends. And the reason why this upsets me is because the location and where it happened did actually have cameras at the Petit Hermitage Hotel, but they haven't been working for years. And so I know I would like to see any type of CUPs that we have in these externally facing areas that have, in essence, fake cameras out there that are giving a false sense of security that if we could have, we probably would have been able to see these individuals better, their license plates, and caught them. And I know you're already working. We won't talk about the case because the individuals are doing whatever they need to do. But that is ultimately in the public realm, and right away why I do support that item in 5B. Additionally, with the drone, I do share privacy concerns. However, I think I'm willing to go down the path and erring on the side of caution and trying it for people. I've spoken with our counterparts in Beverly Hills. I know it's a very different environment, and so what that looks like is different from city to city, but I do agree with Councilmember Meister on that, and I share the concerns because we're damned if we do and we're damned if we don't, right? You know, we have members of the public who say we've never told the community anything about bike lanes when we did. And we have members here who are saying, well, we want more community outreach. Which one is right? Which one is not? You know, we have to be sadly up here, and we have to, I think, find that course, right? You know, the truth still wins out, I think, in the end. But specifically, I think with the drones, I would like, you know, when I served on the Planning Commission, you know, businesses that got approved, I'll use Rocco's for example. It's a good business, I'm not saying anything bad, but they had a condition where they had to come back to the Planning Commission on noise complaints and complaints every quarter if there were incidences. And so with the drone, some of the information that I've been studying, I would like to identify ways that if there are complaints, how those could be lodged, and then having those complaints go to the Public Safety Commission on a quarterly basis, or if that's too much, a biannual basis. And I want to try it out for a year. That's kind of where I'm at this. I want to try it out for a year, and then I want to come back and reevaluate it. I do agree with my two colleagues as well that have talked about the need for community outreach, and so I was just wondering if we could talk some timelines here real quick for everyone. So let's say this item is approved tonight. What is when would the drone be flying overhead? Like, what is that actual timeline?
Mayor, I'll jump in and then I'll pass it over to Captain Mulder. So just to address the public outreach, we just want to share, I mean, there's never enough, and we're always willing to absolutely do more, but we just want to share some of the efforts that have been made to reach out to the public in terms of getting their feedback and educating and learning from them as well on this program. So between September and November of 2023, staff performed outreach with the Human Services Commission, the LGBTQ Commission, the Public Safety Commission, and the Social Justice Advisory Board. And collectively, I think the decision to bring this item forward as a pilot program was to continue to allow to receive that feedback, not make it we're approving that this is going to go into effect, but in the one-year pilot program, it allows to continue that public outreach, not in a theory format, but in actual application. Yeah. And if something is a concern to the public, if some complaints are coming in specifically to a certain area that we need to turn our attention to, it allows us to do it in real time versus just in concept and in theory and discussion, which we have done over the last year to ensure that we have reached out to the community and to the public in order to make that effective. In addition to that, in comment to, we are a different city and we completely understand that. One of the differences of the pilot program in the city of West Hollywood compared to any of the other cities is that this is going to be, it's not proactive monitoring. So we're not constantly monitoring. No one is watching. We're not hiring staff to watch cameras. We are not proactively just surveilling certain areas. Any of these technology items, whether it's the real-time monitoring, whether it's the drone program, will only be utilized if there is an emergency or an incident happening in that moment. The second the emergency is done and the threat is taken care of, then the cameras and the drone usage is disabled. So it records, but no one is watching it, no one is utilizing it, no one is using it for monitoring during non-emergent situations. So only the event, of course, if there was an incident that happened, if somebody was robbed, if there was an armed robbery, then the sheriffs are allowed to tap into the real-time monitoring cameras to view that specific incident. But it's other like other cities, for example, like Beverly Hills, it's constant. It's 24/7 surveillance, it's 24/7 monitoring, and that's what differentiates our program that we're bringing forward as a pilot versus some of the other cities that use these types of technologies as well.
Thank you. And I have a couple more comments, and then I know Councilmember Heilman, because he's giving me that look he always gives me. No, I'm joking. That says shut up. No, he would never say that to me. He would, but just in private. Say it right now, yeah. Oh, I lost my train of thought. I do want to inform my colleagues we'll have an item on the next agenda about vacant properties that will, I think, finally address this issue that we've been dancing around with tearing down properties once and for all. So I'm looking forward to that robust conversation that's been addressed here. I think that will be helpful. Thank you for answering those questions, Anita, and I am going to just say, to wrap up my final comments, is that, the world is, an interesting place, and it's scary at times, but here in West Hollywood, as you heard from ourselves and our city manager, this is one of the single largest investments in community and public safety that we've made one-off. There are going to be instances in the next couple of months where people say the city does not care about public safety, and that's just a bull-faced lie. And that's meant to scare people. And I hope that people really understand that it's not the time to scare people, it's the time to come together and know that we're taking all these things seriously. Because the numbers, I think, are showing really good results, in my opinion. We talk a lot, Captain Mulder, part 1 crime being down, part 2 crime being down. We still have issues, every city does. But the fear-mongering that I think I saw over the last few years and months, and I think will continue over the next several months, sadly. I hope this is a good lesson to people that that type of misinformation in the city that we don't care about public safety is just a lie. And I hope people take that really seriously. Councilmember Heilman?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to clarify, the drones are only going to be used in response to an incident that's occurred. We're not going to have drones flying around 24/7.
Yeah, yes, Councilmember Heilman. So the drone program is just a pilot program. And so we're looking at it being a year. Just a year, and if it works, the program works, we go beyond that. If halfway through the program, if there's any concerns, and it's the pleasure of the council to stop it, they can stop it. I spent one of my jobs on the sheriff's department. I worked the sheriff's legislative unit, so I spent 8 years going up to Sacramento and running legislation on behalf of the department. The pilot programs were really effective. We did a lot of those. Just to see how a program works, and maybe only included so many people in the pilot program. Then when you see it works, then you can expand it, continue it. So for purposes of this pilot program for the drone, we are only sending the drone to calls. So it's only going to calls for service. That pilot, from the beginning of the mission going to the call and back, it will be recorded. So if there's any concern or a consternation about what that was doing, we can bring up the video and see exactly what happened. Great. And then we'll also be using it for, I promise I'll stop right now, but mapping crime scenes and mapping traffic accidents. traffic accidents, we have to close the intersection sometimes for hours. There's a program that we can use with the drone. We can map it in 15 minutes.
Great.
And then my second question, and I think this is for Anita, when I look at Beverly Hills, they have public signage about the program, that they have cameras in place. I would imagine that as we roll this out, we'll have a public education campaign to let people know that this technology is in place, just to inform people if they're concerned about privacy, but also I think it's a good way of sending the message to people who want to engage in wrongdoing that there are people here who are going to catch them. Okay, so, okay, based on all of that, I'm prepared to move item 5B, that it be a one-year pilot program for the drones, that we go forward with the recommendations, that we also have a process for receiving and monitoring complaints about the program. But with that, I'm prepared to make the motion.
Sounds good. While there's a motion on the table, is there a second on the motion? Okay, and then I just want to go to Vice Mayor Byers.
So I wanted to get clear. My question was about, are we going to put digital signs at the entrance, every entrance point to the city of West Hollywood, similar to Beverly Hills, that say, welcome to West Hollywood, Sheriff Drone in Use?
So that, yeah, that's absolutely something we can do. And we can have that discussion where exactly we want those. I think Beverly Hills, the one that I've seen is on Santa Monica Boulevard, just past Doheny. I haven't seen any others in Beverly
Sunset.
Hills.
They're everywhere.
Sunset.
They're
They're
okay.
all over
So there's one on Sunset as well. So yeah, that's certainly something that we can do too, to advertise when it's up. And just to note that it will only, in the pilot program, it will only be up 40 hours a week. And we've designated certain times, days and times of when it's, in terms of based on the statistics, that's the appropriate time for us to be operating it.
And then I had one more comment. I appreciate the extensive amount of commission outreach. It is not the public outreach of which I speak. And I do think it is a big difference for people to know that there will be a drone recording overhead from the point location of deployment to wherever it's going. And whoever is consistently within that path will be consistently within a recording pattern. And I can understand, but as you just said, from the location of deployment to wherever that call has been made, there will be a recording. And so people within, go ahead if you'd like to, go ahead.
Vice Mayor, I'm not to interrupt, but just had a comment to that, just so that you know, I maybe misspoke in my comments. So when the drone is deployed, we can do a camera up scenario, so that it's kind of recording just the air, and we go to the actual location, then we can actually drop the camera down, use it to de-escalate the situation, provide real-time information, and then once we're done, they can go camera up on it and then fly it back.
Great.
So that is kind of the focus.
And in that case, that's tremendous. The real-time watch cameras are still another consistent. So my point being that type of outreach, I still believe we have not fully notified the public. And we have gone back and forth on this council many times about what proper community outreach looks like, to the point where we've instructed staff to make sure it says bike lanes specifically on the mailers, and then we're resending them. So I just do not think we have done our due diligence to let the public know what we're about to vote for tonight. And with that, I'm a no, but thank you.
Councilmember Shine?
Can we just go back to the question about the digital signage? So we will come back with a public outreach campaign for how we will notify people about the cameras. I don't want to say that we're going to have digital signage on every corner or street going in and out of the city, because I don't think we will. But we'll bring back a consent item regarding what the public outreach process will be.
Thank you. Councilmember Shine.
Thank you. I'm also going to reiterate Councilmember Byers' comments. We have not done enough public outreach. This is going to be an entirely different culture creation for the city of West Hollywood without enough public outreach. I would be more comfortable supporting this if we did a statistically valid survey, a mailing out to all our residents, letting them know there are going to be cameras up and down Santa Monica Boulevard and wherever else, and drones in use with signs that basically the LGBTQ city of freedom is now becoming the city of Beverly Hills.
Well, I'll just reiterate my point. The LGBT City of Freedom has cameras in every LGBT bar. So every time you go into the Abbey or to Rocco's or any other LGBT establishment, there are cameras monitoring you inside that establishment. So my point is that we need to keep the people who are LGBT who are coming here, we need to keep them safe. And the problem is right now they're getting robbed on the street, they're getting hassled on the street, they're being subjected to hate crimes. Giving the sheriffs the technology to prevent that and to catch the perpetrators is what we're talking about tonight.
And what is the timeline? That's the question that I did not get answered. That it was my fault, not yours. But what is the timeline? So let's say it's approved tonight. When does this start? When does it begin? When are there cameras up? What is that process?
Yeah, thank you, Mary. And Mary, it's my fault because you did ask it, I didn't address
That's
it. So,
okay.
So if it's approved tonight, then it'll probably, we have to then find a company to be a drone company for us, and then of course a company to then put up cameras. So I'm thinking probably, I think we're looking at like 3 months or maybe beyond that. David, is that kind of what we're looking at?
Yeah, it'll be 3 to 4 months for both the drones and the block cameras. The cameras, I won't say block.
Okay. All right, I think we should vote.
Councilmember Heilman, can I request that you just restate the motion on the floor since there was some conversation afterwards? Thank you.
It's to approve the recommendations of 5B with a 1-year pilot project, to also direct our staff to develop a process for complaints and receiving and monitoring complaints, and that we establish a public outreach campaign that will come back to us on the consent calendar for how we notify the public that this new program is starting.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So there's a motion from Councilmember Heilman and a second from Councilmember Meister.
May I ask a question, if you would be willing to, while everything takes 3 months, it's going to take 6 months. We just know it's going to take 6 months. I know you're shaking your head. It's going to happen. I mean, it's just going to happen. That's it's local government, right? We no tea, no shade, right? But would you be willing to, in that time, to give an expedited push to have us do a public outreach campaign between now and when we flip the switch in probably 6 months?
Sure, I'm perfectly fine with us notifying the public of our action and letting the public know about it and soliciting input from the public. But I think we've heard from the public repeatedly that public safety is their #1 concern.
Okay, with that addition, I will support this item. Thank you. All right, moving on.
Motion passes 3-2.
Do we need a break or do we want to go right on to 6A? Let's keep going. All right, 6A, it is do we need a full staff report on this one? Councilmember Heilman, I know you said some questions. This is the sales tax question.
Yeah, I guess one of my questions for the city manager is, has there been any conversation with anyone about this? This is the first time I've seen this or heard this.
Yeah, so there's been conversations over the last few weeks. The county recently passed a measure on June 25th to repeal Measure H and implement a new tax measure, half-cent tax measure. So based on that action, we had to act pretty quickly. This item would provide a sales tax at the time that Measure H is expected to expire, which is October of 2027. But we haven't been able to do a lot of public outreach because of the timing. We have talked with some of the business communities during our regular business calls. This item that's approving tonight is to do a public outreach survey. And the results of that survey would come back to the city council to make a decision on whether or not to move forward with the ballot measure.
I guess my other question is, how are we going to justify raising the sales tax to the public when we just had a $30 million surplus?
Yeah, so I think that's what the survey will tell us. And again, I think what we're recommending at this point would be ensuring that we keep those taxes local when Measure H expires, as opposed to a new sales tax right now. But I think the survey would let us know if we want to move forward with that or not.
Well, I completely understand the idea of keeping that for West Hollywood and not allowing another agency to take that. But I have a lot of concerns about this. I wonder, is there a way for us to impose the sales tax but not actually collect it? Because right now it doesn't seem like we really need it.
Mm-hmm. And that is certainly something we can look into. The reason to do it so quickly is because the next time it could be on the ballot would be 2026, and if the county has another measure at that time, it's uncertain what the state would do, if they'd allow us to collect it or not, if it would go to the county first. So that's part of the reason for acting so quickly. But we certainly can do more research between now and the August meeting about how it's actually collected, or if it's collected at all.
Okay, thank you.
All right, seeing any other questions or comments? There's no public speakers, by the way. There's a motion. I'll make a motion. Vice Mayor Byers got the hand on the button. Do you want to speak on this, Steve?
Yes, Steve slid it in over here.
Oh, well, I'm gonna. No, come on down, Steve. We love hearing from you.
No, Mayor, I'm getting the John Heilman eyeball roll, and I know that's something we all fear. No, we're not. No, he's not. I think what Vice Mayor Byers said about outreach.
This isn't that item.
No, it isn't, but it is because we're doing a survey. And this is really complicated. Thank you, John, for asking for a full report. And even, I think there's just a lot, it's like peeling an onion here. There's a lot of issues and sub-issues here that are important, and I think this is a good first step. You know, when it comes to public outreach, you can never do enough, and even best intentions, residents get bombarded with a lot of stuff. They don't always open it. So you guys have to err on the side of doing your best. And this is a really good first start. I don't know whether, when I think about what our goals are for helping the homeless, whether the county can spend this money better than we can, whether we can even preserve the quarter-cent tax and not collect. I mean, these are all really complicated issues, legal issues, and I think the city manager's report was very good for what it was, but there's a lot of conversation that needs to go on. And also, this is a very emotional issue, even more than bike lanes. So I think that you guys are doing the right thing and appreciate it. And thank you for running. You guys covered a lot of ground tonight. You're almost making it look like the job's easy. I don't know if that's a good idea, but anyway, thank you, and I appreciate your time.
I do have an answer to Steve's question. We can do a better job of spending the money than the county can. Yeah. That's an easy answer.
Yes. And I will just say, you are absolutely right, Steve. We always do our best, and it should always be remembered that that happens. Yes.
Can I just ask a question before
Yeah.
we vote on this? So the fact that we do this survey doesn't mean that we will necessarily do this, even if people are okay with it.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I mean, I just answered the city manager's question, but I'm sorry.
That is correct, but the only way we can do it is to vote for it on August 5th, because August 9th would be the last date that it can be put on the November ballot.
I just think it's a complicated issue, because if the county has this initiative to sunset the current tax, sales tax, and go with their other tax, that's an additional 25% of a penny. I don't know, whatever it is. But and if we don't do it, it's just what it is now, which is the 0.25, right?
Sure. Would you like? Sorry about that. Christine Zaverett, assistant to the city manager. Yes, it's very complicated, and so there is an alternative measure or an additional measure that is going to be on the November ballot. That is the county measure related to homelessness, and the county is proposing to repeal and replace the existing quarter-cent sales tax measure that is time limited. It was a 10-year sales tax measure and will expire in 2027, and replace it with a half-cent sales tax in perpetuity.
And basically what we're saying then, let's say we were to do this, is if it happens that they do repeal, and then they're doing their replacement, people are going to be taxed even more. In other words, it's our quarter cent and then the half, and which is more than just the quarter cent that they have now. So it's just, all I'm saying is it's complicated, and I think we really have to think. I agree with Councilmember Heilman. I think we can spend the money better than the county, but if they're going to be taking that money and we get money, it's just a lot to expect from our residents and our visitors, and I think we really have to, and that's why I was also thinking about, do we have to actually implement it right away if it were even to pass? So.
Well, let's find out. And I think with that, we can go to the vote. Seeing 4-1. All right, we're going to move on to 6H, appointments, fun times. All the rest of the items were moved. Councilmember Shine, would you like to go first?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes. I would like to appoint Shane Nash to the LGBTQ Commission, LGBTQ Plus Commission, Sonia Sebastian to the Women's Advisory Board, and Alex Paris to the Rent Stabilization Commission.
Wonderful, thank you. And I'll be appointing Callie Rogers to the, whatever the Public Facilities Commission is called now.
Public Facilities, Recreation, and Infrastructure Commission, and all of those will be for a term ending February 28th, 2025.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving right along. Consent calendar, there is none. Public comment, there is none. Councilmember comments and meeting attendance reports. Councilmember Meister, may I start with you?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I attended the city's Civic Leadership Academy final session. Congratulations to all of those who made it through. Attended the West Hollywood Chamber of Commerce State of the City. And I want to thank Genevieve and the Chamber team for putting it all together and having such a distinguished panel, especially the economist, who I think offered some worthwhile and practical words of wisdom. And I want to congratulate and welcome back TAB member Mariana Marroquin. In terms of announcements, just July 17th, 6 to 7:30 p.m., there's a neighborhood meeting that will be held at Plummer Park Community Center, Room 1, regarding 8020 Santa Monica Boulevard, which is a proposed renovations to an existing service center. July 17th also is our Sustainability Town Hall from 6 to 8 p.m. That's at City Council Chambers with Athens Services for an informative town hall on zero waste and organic waste implementation in line with Senate Bill 1383, which is what we were talking about this evening. And then in addition to the July 20th WeHo 40 Strategic Plan Community Meeting, there's also a virtual community meeting July 29th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then just want to give a little plug to Summer Sounds. There's still 2 more Sundays, July 28th and August 18th, 4 p.m. to 6:30 p.m., a free outdoor concert series, family friendly and free, and right there in Plummer Park. And looking forward to seeing everyone, National Night Out, but I believe we have another meeting before then.
We do. You have to see us one more time. Councilmember Shine.
mine is quick. I attended and read my poetry, at the Art Tease event at the Circus of Books. And there, the West Hollywood Poetry Slam team had their inaugural West Hollywood show. I've attended the League of Cal Cities LGBTQ caucus meeting. Well, I ran it as president and have had several other meetings as well with the caucus and diversity caucuses as well. That's it.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Howman?
Thank you, Mayor. I also attended the last day of the Civic Leadership Academy. Also attended the State of the City event that the Chamber put on. And then for our next council meeting, I will be flying in that day, so I'm going to be tired, but I'm also going to be, if there's any problem with the flight, I may be delayed getting here for the next meeting, but I just wanted to give you that heads up.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Byers.
Thank you. No formal meeting attendance to report. Thank you, Councilmember Meister, for the plug on the Sustainability Town Hall. If folks come for nothing else, just pick up your kitchen pail. They will be giving those out that night. And then I just want to end with a big thank you to Michael Watson, who's been a tremendous intern in our Community Legislative Affairs Division for the last year. We will miss you tremendously after your departure.
Councilmember Shine.
Yes, also, happy birthday, Councilmember John Heilman.
Thank you all. Yes, happy birthday, Councilmember Heilman. I've been eating your cake throughout the last item, so thank you for keeping me. The meetings, I was a guest on The Wave, talking about Pride. I attended the Pride Month event celebration at the White House. I delivered the State of the City address at the West Hollywood Chamber of Commerce State of the City. Congrats to all that made that such a great success and to all the honorees. I attended the Getty House Pride event. I did a ribbon cutting at the Nike training studio. I also attended the LA County Department of Mental Health Rainbow Resilience event. And then I presented proclamations to two of my favorite businesses where I spend most of my money. Ajasai Sushi, right on Palm, and Otis Thai, right on La Brea. I love them so much. I just want to give a spout out. I attended the naming subcommittee. And then I filmed a segment for the American Dream TV show, and they spoke very highly of you, by the way. And then in terms of comments, I know that we've been getting some comments regarding the lap swim at the pool. I believe Stephanie sent us an email about that. I haven't had time to read it, but however, we can figure out some way there. I was told at my Saturday in Palmer Park event that the fees for city shuttles for seniors or when they call a Lyft or whatever, it's increased drastically. I don't know what that price is, but if we could look into that when someone calls, because they said that 2 rides take over the balance. Maybe it's wrong, but I just want to get clarification, but I just wanted that to talk about. I really want to thank the council for approving the Kroger-Albertsons merger anti-letter that we had, on our agenda. I just want to reiterate that's nothing having to do here with the city. It's specifically a $1 billion corporate or $1 million corporation merger, and they're trying to sell off stock to make it more appealable. I would encourage every resident of the city that doesn't want to see that go on to email the FCC. And then additionally, I want to thank my colleagues for the consent items, and I just want to address the orange-haired monkey in the room specifically. And no matter what, political violence is not welcome in our systems of government. And as someone that is vying for a seat again, it brings back many really scary memories. One that I myself have had to endure, one that my colleagues have had to endure, one that my good friend and colleague has had to endure, and it hit me at a very local level. I was reminded specifically of not only the death threats that we have all received at some point in our life, but ever since serving with you, and I don't mean to call you out publicly, but I wanted to say that the type of violence and direct death threats to our colleagues' life is unacceptable. And when we see it happening at our national level, I am worried about the local level and what that means for events moving forward, our systems moving forward. I was told to calm down when I submitted a sheriff's report over the death threat that myself, Councilmember Shine, I believe Mayor Pro Tem Shine, and now Supervisor Horvath received over the internet last year. I was told that it was nothing, and that individual still continues to mock us and say, "You can't catch me online," to us today. And that's the type of stuff we're going to be dealing with, I think, for the next 3-4 months. And, you know, no matter if you don't agree with us, if you don't like what's going on nationally, or anything like that, taking to violence and causing harm to another individual, it impacts us here locally. We see you in the grocery stores. We see you walking your dogs. And I hope that we all take this, and that's why I said earlier what I said is that in the world of a temperature that is trying to veer on more than boiling at the moment, I really hope here in West Hollywood we can tamp that down, because we're all in this together in every way, shape, and form. And that's my final comment of the evening, and we're going to adjourn until our meeting on August 5th at 6:00 p.m. Thanks, everyone.